this up. There we go. All right. Good morning and welcome to today's live show. If you're not watching this live, make sure to tune into the last 15 minutes as we will give a breakdown of every stock that we cover, that being the SPY Qs, Apple, Tesla, Amazon, Nvidia, AMD, and Meta. Obviously, we look through things like Microsoft and Google as well, volatility. So we'll break down a bunch of stuff at the end of this video. Just give it a like and come on back for the last 15 minutes. But as we're looking into today, important day in the market, right? Important day because Jerome Powell's coming out and talking. We're getting a little bit of data this morning with the JOLTS job report. So we have a few things to pay attention to this morning. As we trickle in, make sure to say good morning in the chat. It is a very, very good day to be a trader, isn't it? So let's keep it going today. Trading like water out there, keeping things moving back and forth. But it looks like volatility is still remaining a little bit higher as of right now, right? Remaining higher, getting that cross down. We can go negative here. Just want to see what's going to actually happen in the market if we are going to set up some kind of double bottom down here, something like that. I really think that's possible for today. Who's making money today? Who's doing it? All I got to do is this guy I'm holding long term towards the downside. Thomas, that's what I'm holding. But good morning. Good morning, Frankie. Morning Review. Morning, Thomas. Morning, Matthew. Mo Joma. Philip. Good morning. Armando. Oh, one thing I wanted to mention early on was a big thank you to More Pando. He's been out there. He's been emailing me, trading like water, taking profit earlier. He says it's the best trading he's had in a while. So I think that's very awesome to hear. And he gave a good donation. So I just wanted to shout out More Pando this morning because it was a really good donation, guys. So really appreciate when you guys are willing to give your hard-earned cash, you know, to buy me coffee, to say thank you. That's awesome. Memes will dump short IWM. Or Pando, I hope you just heard me say thank you. I wanted to make sure because it didn't get to pop up live or anything. I wanted to make sure you know, like, thank you so much for your donation. That was awesome. Really appreciate that. Now we can go buy diapers and all that good stuff. Evil Dow. I don't know about the meme stocks. Actually, something I wanted to look at today was just to see what this guy's doing. Looking like it could roll down into negative territory, go down into maybe the last place we broke out from, right? Maybe we test this level again or come down into a 39.50. Feel like this here would be pretty good. But it looks like a lot of stuff wants to roll over even on the 30-minute here. I'd be looking for a divergence before I get in on this, right? I want some good price, some kind of setup before I actually look into getting in any of this. SMCI breaking down a little bit. Saw this kind of like forming some consolidation in here, right? So if we looked at SMCI, you can see we're kind of getting this triangle here. And really could just wait for a break to the upside, break to the downside, but it looks almost like a wedge now. So if we wanted to go to the upside, that makes total sense. Maybe we touch down here, we come outside of it, get that retest, getting yourself a little bit of a head and shoulders in this area. I think that's definitely possible, but we have to react based on what is said today. We have to react based on the data today. So as we look forward, looks like here in about 30 minutes here, we're going to get the ISM services PMI, and then we'll have to see what the reaction is to that. And then after that, we do have Jerome Powell a couple hours later. So we will be live a little bit longer today. So make sure we're liking, subscribing, doing all that good stuff very early on today. Let's get some people in here so they can watch Jerome Powell with us, right? Here we go. You sound tired. Did you get your coffee? I have my coffee. It's just I had a little trouble sleeping last night. So it wasn't baby girl's fault. She got 4 shots. So you can imagine how she's a little bit... Actually, she's been relatively good. I think I might have missed out on. They went over to grandma's house after, so. Goog on the price cut. And as we open up, I think the main thing we want to pay attention to, the SPY, right? We do have that 20-day moving average right below us, pretty much right at the low of yesterday. It's going to be where that 20-day moving average lines up. So I wanted to see, I think a 15-minute is solid to look at, right? You see this curving up of the MACD. What happens when you curve up towards the center line? Well, if you cross over, you can see more negativity. We can see a test of this level. So if we wanted to break down before Jerome Powell talked, that would be interesting to see some kind of divergence maybe set up at this level. Something we can pay attention to on that was, I think it's NVIDIA, right? Dropping down one more time would give you this maybe triple divergence here. Looks a little bit better on like a 30-minute and stuff. So if we roll over just briefly on the 30-minute, maybe we're able to get some kind of triple divergence at this level. You can see we're getting close to that positive territory, but we're not in it yet. So that's something to pay attention to. GLT below the monthly. Yeah, this thing's still just dropping off. 10 years still just popping to the upside. I suspect this will fade today. I really do. Unless we actually see something crazy happen, which is definitely possible at this level. We can see that type of price action. We can see crazier things happen. We have some stuff that's at like the top of its range, some stuff that's at the bottom. I hope you guys hear some crying this morning. I know that Gabbo only shows up so that you can hear the baby cries. Actually, I don't even know if you're a girl, Gabbo. I'm sorry. All right, but good morning, guys. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Damn, NVIDIA dropping off, but it's going to create a divergence most likely today. I just wanted to say, look at that. It dropped off a little bit, comes down into this area. We can get another point of reference on this, right? You get triple divergences. This is why I usually buy expirations in the future in case you get little moves like this. So now this is very brief, right? So if this curls down on this MACD, you really want that to turn around fast. So I'm expecting some kind of turnaround this morning if we see lower prices for NVIDIA. If we don't, start to break below this level, could mean we're going to go to oversold territory again, right? We might actually want to go down towards 855. So I'd pay attention to that. AMD seeing some growth up right now. That's a good sign. Remember AMD on the, I think it was a 1 hour, we have this divergence. Look at this across the way here. Big divergence over here. Yeah, it's a little bit higher, but you can notice, look how close it is to positive territory. Good shot. Look at AMD right now, just booming as of right now. Amazon about to curl up, maybe go positive here. I like my 30-minute charts. You guys know that. Apple, this one here looking pretty decent, honestly. The 15-minute could roll over, give you another point of reference for that divergence. But as of right now, hourly divergence, probably what I would pay attention to. See if this can confirm, then we could see that upward move. Oh, Google. Let's look at that Google move real quick, getting that price cut, seeing if this 2 hour can roll over. Look at that. It's confirming as of right now. We got that confirmation. So Google is telling you, hey, I got downside here. But then we see like Apple, Tesla, TLT, all these other ones saying that they could, kind of bounce. So you're getting AMD with that strong move so far this morning. So a lot of different things going on across the board. Meta getting a strong move. Now, Meta's outside of its weekly expected move. That's what I'm saying. It's kind of an interesting time. We actually could break down this week because you have a lot of stocks hitting their upward move while the SPY is kind of consolidating down towards its bottom of its weekly. So that's very interesting for today. Maybe we do see some individual names go up, some individual names come down. Interesting to see this. I really just like the hourly for this. If you're paying attention to Apple, you can see the flatness of the MACD here, a little bit up here. Then you see a little bit up on the RSI. So just a little chance here that you see some positive reaction from Apple going forward. I think we have a good shot to see a little bit higher price action. Let's look at Microsoft here. Microsoft's one that I'm showing because of some big divergence here, right? We're coming down towards those lows again. Seeing that kind of test this low one more time, which at this point you have the divergence for that double bottom. So this could double bottom out around this area. Now, remember, Microsoft, something we are adding to the Patreon very, very soon. The bottom side here, we're actually not towards it yet. We can go a little bit lower. So really want to maybe wait for this data to come out before I take any trades, see which direction we're going to go. Because we could get a negative reaction to the data and then a positive reaction to Powell. So we'll pay attention to that for today. VIX is above the 200 again. Yes, and the only thing I would say about the VIX though is you're creating, possibly that 30-minute divergence, right? We were talking about, hey, I think I said 5-minute maybe or 15-minute. I was like, we're going to start making divergences. We're probably going to see something like this and then come back down like that. Right now, kind of pushing up and consolidating. So we'll see if there's one more push here, but I would now be looking at a 30-minute and say, hey, if I get some divergence up here right now, we're kind of double topping, so want to pay attention to any kind of downside here. Got one AK call on Nvidia for 12,820. Ooh, okay, that's a pretty good play there. Pretty good size play. And you can see how it doesn't necessarily want to fully break down from here, so that's something to pay attention to. But honestly, you got to pay attention in about 22 minutes. You got to see what the actual reaction is. Do we break yesterday's lows on the SPY? It's very, very possible. Unstop us. Very, very possible. The thing with this, though, you're already starting to buy back up. The more you see positivity here, probably the better. And then you would say, if Jerome Powell is going to give us that extreme bullishness, maybe we do something like this. I would like us, if it's going to be bullish, I'd like us to see some kind of pop up and just consolidate right here. But as you are pretty deep in here, just pay attention if we do roll over, right? If we roll over, we could still be near negative territory. So that's what I would pay attention to. This might be some kind of push higher and then we sell off the next day. UVXY going to have a split. Yeah, be careful with those splits. Crash, crash, SPY, please. Well, I would say this is the moment where we're going to most likely bounce up, but we could get that lower high maybe going into tomorrow or something like that. We might even, build up over time here, right? We're at the bottom side of the weekly. We actually could do something very simple like this. This would be awesome. And then CPI is right around the corner. So this might mean, hey, we have some upward pressure, but we have to pay attention to the data, right? Because this easily could just roll down, keep rolling down. Please, not the balls. No, Jerome, don't hurt me. Dow going positive here. The double top we were talking about up there. IWM. This is where I expect some positivity from IWM. Honestly, this is kind of a long shot down. So I want to see if this 2-hour can roll back up while it's still near positive territory. That would be a good thing going into next week. Is that short lived? We'll have to find out. I'm going to sell this, make a little bit of money today. Make sure I'm making some money today. A little 50% to start the day. Maybe look for some other options out there. And then I want to see if Apple's able to curl up on this MACD. So this is something that most likely we'll put out a picture of this or something on Patreon. So Patreon going to have a good little trade here most likely. Patreon going to have a good little trade put out on there. Oh, baby girl. Take one little play here. I'm going to go look. Alrighty, and good morning. Welcome to the live stream. Previous lows kind of look like they're temporarily being used as resistance. Still got your Google puts. I actually just sold those just in case. I mean, it looks good, but I just think there's going to be a better setup. I think if I want to take one stock to really use in order to catch a big downward move, and I'm seeing this not looking the most like it's going to fully break down. Now, if this goes negative, the 2 hours crossed, I can be confident with that. But as I am seeing, the spies reacting off the 20, as I'm seeing other stuff, I kind of want to just pull back from my put side for just a moment here before I see some data. So you can see right now, what am I doing? I'm kind of pulling my stuff out, selling a little bit. That way I know I made some profit today. And then I can go in and be like, okay, now I can react based on the data. And I think what might end up happening, and this is just something that I could see as crazy for the market, would be we actually go up the rest of this week, and then we go up a little into next week, and then CPI actually comes out as bad. But we have to see what people's narrative is around CPI. Last time around CPI, we were selling off, and I was like, this looks like a trap. I think it was around that area. And then we got a trap like the next day. But IWM able to cross up, that would be good starting off. Tesla not able to fully break down here. Apple starting to go green. So look at this, these divergences down here on the hourly. If that can cross up, well, we just want to see if the 2 hour can cross, honestly. You want to see if this 2 hour can go positive. That means a big positive move could come. If you believe in these measured moves, you guys know I don't necessarily pay full attention to them, but you can see we could see a move all the way up to like 178 with this breakout to the upside. But how that would want to go up, right? We have a lot of liquidity right here. So this is now maybe a left. And then if we get that reaction up, I'd expect that resistance to come in right around 173.50, right? And then we base out like this, get some kind of left head, right shoulder. Even if this is a full retest, right? We could see that as well. But the best moves, the strong moves, they don't really retest or anything. They just go for it. If we go for it on some stocks, well, you're going to get Google outside of its range. Well, you're going to get Meta's outside of its range. And look at that, Meta already starting to fade. This is why I'm like, I can wait a second, see if there's some kind of break in Meta to the upside, and then take my trade right here. All right, guys, I'm going to say goodbye to the girls real quick. They are going to Abuela's this morning. So going to see Grandma, but I will be back in 2 minutes. While I'm gone, make sure to like, make sure you're subscribed. If you need to get the course or anything like that, it's down in the description. If you want to join the Patreon, it's there as well. I'm going to leave you guys on the SPY for just a brief moment, say goodbye to my girls, and then I'll be right back. And we're back. Nothing crazy happening as I'm gone. Join the Patreon. Thank you, DB Trades. DB Trades, I hope you were able to get that that course last night. If not, we can figure something out for you. I know you were trying to get it yesterday, so we'll try to figure something out for you. But thank you for joining the community. We love having you there. Looking like we can see some upward moves here. TLT is one that I want to go look at real quick. I want to see, right, if we get this 30-minute divergence, we have a 2-hour still forming. That's really dropping off. I think this is going to maybe go the other way today. But I don't want to say, like, that has to, right? I know that we can see some crazier stuff happen. I'm in no way, like, rushing to say, oh, yep, it's got to go up. No, it very well could just keep heading down. All right, we got data coming out in about 12 minutes, guys. Who's ready to see some data? What do we think's going to happen for the day? Do you think, let's go to the SPY and see what you guys are thinking. Do you think that today we actually break through that 20-day moving average? We break through the bottom side of our weekly expected move, which means we're pretty much going into a gamma flip and we're going to see this start to escalate. If we start to drop through these dramatically, now you have 2 levels of resistance throughout the entire day if you drop to this level. So if we do anything like this, you really want to buy up very quickly. So what do you guys think is going to happen? Do you think we break through, or do you think we start to go to the upside throughout the day? Maybe we see that fade early on. Now we can pay attention if this does cross up or fails to cross and rolls over. This could just be some kind of lower high to start giving you a series of lower lows, lower highs, right? So I would pay attention to that today. If we get this to roll up, just look for that to roll back down. Bro, I traded like bricks today and blew my performance account because I got mad and YOLO'd it. See, emotions are like half the battle, Aaron, right? You think that the gamma flip starts the rundown? SPY and the Qs both go down today. Okay, yeah, I couldn't get it to work. No big deal. 25% off is enough. I feel like the Patreon is where it's at for me. Okay, awesome. And when I get that code for you, I'll give it to you. We'll see if we can fix whatever it is. Do you post? Yeah, you can go look at the video that we posted last week was a good one. That's usually what... No, I'm not muted. You tricked me for a sec, Armando. Yeah, so we do post like pictures of trade setup. So yesterday we were overall showing off NVIDIA, and then I just had kind of a busy day, but NVIDIA here just showing you how there could potentially be little 15-minute divergences adding up to a crossing over into positive territory. As of like right now, you have that divergence at this level, you have that divergence at this level, so we're seeing if that could curl up. The hourly, now the hourly is starting to curl up, but you can see it's very, very flat. Once this goes positive, that would be a good sign. And then the overall thing I want to pay attention to is the 2-hour. See if this can curl up. Well, do we curl up and test this high, go make a new one? Do we curl up into next week and then see that fade off with some kind of divergence? That's overall what's being said right now on the Patreon. Per the VIX, double top SPY will pop up. Yeah, it looks like the technicals are saying we're going to get a bigger bounce here, I would say. But maybe we need to test the 20 again before that happens. So that's something to pay attention to. It really is, because we already tested that 20-day moving average. Now are we just going to see that buy back up, or are we going to get that test first, maybe with some data in 9 minutes, and then we get that bounce up? We have to say, if Jerome Powell kind of takes the same tone as he has been, then we're most likely going to see the stock market go up with Jerome Powell, but it could be ripped away at the end of the day. But if we're, I know that I was looking at some put call volume, right, and we're seeing a lot of people start to put puts out there. So start to put puts. That could be a flip in sentiment, and initially, you want to read into if there is some kind of flip to the downside. If we start to break below this weekly expected move, the selling can really pile on. Today, there is a huge huge put strike, I'm pretty sure. So I wanted to look at that. Actually, there's a huge call strike at 523, 518, and 517. Where are we at right now? 518. So I'd say if we start to break below 517, well, that's going to be right here. It's going to be pretty much where our weekly expected move is, right? So if we start to break below this level, not going to be good news. You really need that to buy back up quick. If you start to drop below there, I would say going outside of the daily expected move, right? We don't use that as support to head back. We start to break below this, it's starting to add up that we're going to start to use this area as resistance. So that's something to pay attention to. I'm going to look at the end of the week, look at the put call ratio here, 1.4. We have a ton of calls at 530, ton of calls at 527, and then puts really at just like 500 and 510. So puts are down in this area down here. The calls all the way up towards 530, way up there. So the top side of our weekly expected move is pretty much where those calls are sitting. It would be interesting if by Friday we see a huge move, and then we see people sell off at the end of the week. Maybe we do something like this, right? We talked about this happening, and then before CPI, that would be very, very interesting. So let's look at NVIDIA. Let's see if NVIDIA has any crazy puts and calls real quick. Let's go over to it real quick. Weirdly enough, it's got a 0.76 put to call ratio, 0.77. 1,000 has a ton of calls. 1,050 has a ton of calls. And then your big put wall is at 850. So remember that 855 to 840 was where we were like, this is where you most likely get a bounce. Well, if we just hold, I would say above, if we can get back above like 950, then we would start to really see this rip to the upside. But you have to think, we are in a pullback right now, okay? So this is where the 20 is. Every time we've gotten good news off the 20, we've gotten a pretty big reaction in the market. So that tells me, hey, we could be getting a big reaction today, right? We come down to the 20 here. Boom, we get a big reaction right after we touch that level and get some probably good news here. We touch that level again. Boom, we rock it up. You notice the reaction is strong every time, right? Strong here. Strong here, strong here. So are we going to see that again? You see that strength come in. Are we going to see that again? Well, that could extend all the way up towards that 530 level. And then you could say NVIDIA is probably the one that's moving at those points. So strong here, off the 20, strong, off the 20, almost off the 20, strong. Now we're getting choked right now between the 5 and the 20, getting tight. Do we get a pop up and then a sudden rip down to the downside? That's something that I'm paying attention to. Apple going positive here. We're going to pay attention to this on the hourly throughout the day. So we'll keep watching a lot of this stuff. We have about 5 minutes till a data drop. 5 minutes. When is Jerome speaking? In about 2 hours. So we're going to be live a lot today. Make sure we're asking questions, tell me about your trades. Tell me how they're going. If you got something good going on, let us know. We want to celebrate you. Please, Fed, lie to the people again. Tell them it's good news. Yeah, that pretty much if he says this is a good thing, you know now that this is a lie. But he could say like, oh, well, we don't think inflation's that big a deal right now. We actually think we're doing a good job. So rate cuts are still on the table for this year. We're looking at 2 to 3. That's what he could say, and then this would just go right back down. So that's something I would pay attention to. My biggest holding, AG, been holding for a long time. Breakout big time this week. Let's go look at that. Let's go look at this guy real quick. Oh my goodness, look at that breakout to the upside. Okay, well, like, you know, if you're doing this from an investment standpoint, maybe you wanted to hold that long term. I know that silver has been seeing some breakouts. But as this is a big downward trend and you're getting very overbought, you might, I mean, if you're trading it, you could say, hey, I'm looking for a pullback at this point. To say this goes ballistic would be interesting, but as of right now, you could see some kind of pullback to the 5, get this, you know, for 20% cheaper or something like that down in this area. But it looks good. Very, very good. The VIX, just want to see if this, you know, gets some kind of pop higher. I think we could get a little pop higher. So we'll see what happens with that. Fed has screwed the market either way. If they don't cut in June, market tanks. If they do cut, market tanks. Yeah, if they cut, it's going to be for a specific reason because they're trying to stall out on cutting, right? They want higher for longer. So now you know if they cut, even if we see a positive reaction initially, you mark your calendars when that cut's actually happening, because once that cut comes to fruition, probably going to be very, very bad news for the market. He's doing what he can to keep the Dems in office because Trump already came out and said he would fire JP. And, that's what we've talked about on this channel a lot. I think he's making decisions based on let's have everyone here at the Fed keep their job. We're smart. We just made a mistake or something like that. Not actually dealing with the problem, in my opinion. He's dealing with the problem in a way that can make him look good, and they weren't able to do it because that's not the way you solve it. And then they can come out and say, oh, this was so unexpected. We've talked about that before. We can now, Jerome Powell, when the banking crisis happens, he can be like, oh, we never saw this coming. Banks were solvent. Banks were good. What time is JP? In about 2 hours. So right now we're going to be paying attention to that data drop over here. I'm just going through, seeing some max pain, see if there's anything interesting. One interesting thing is Apple has a ton of calls at 172.5. A lot of calls, a big call wall at 172.5. So if Apple gets above that area, might be a good spot to take profit. As people might, if it approaches Friday, that's what I would more likely say. All right, we got about 1 minute until ISM Services PMI comes out. So let's pay attention to that. First rock of the day going into our stream. So let's see what's going to happen with that. Dollar looking like it's broken down a little bit here, but can it see a pop? It very well can. See if that selling piles on. HYG, someone mentioned this thing just ripping to the downside. What I wanted to say is it's coming down into a support level here. So right now, this is where you'd expect some kind of bounce. TLT, it looks like it has daily divergence on the MACD, just not on the RSI at the same time. I want you to be very clear about that so we could see this pop up and then drop right back down, maybe with CPI coming out bad next week. So what I'm paying attention to here, 2-hour divergence, see if that can cross up. This very well might break the wedge. We might start heading up from here if we're able to break through this wedge. If we're not and we see it as resistance, I'll get out of any plays I have for TLT except for my investment down at 82.50. IWM, you just want to see if this 2-hour can curl up, you got a good chance to go and touch the top side here of that wedge that we're in. Apple finally seeing a strong move. Let's see if that hourly was able to cross up. We got to load for a sec, but I have Jerome Powell at 11 o'clock, 11:10 Central Time for me. And ISM Services PMI 51.4. 51.4. Let's see how the SPY is reacting. Boom, we're getting it. We're getting the move up. A little bit worrisome right before Jerome Powell. If we start to get up in this area, create another point of divergence. If this strength keeps going, but we could just get that good news from him, and this thing just keeps ripping to the upside. So let's see what Nvidia's doing with that info. Still negative, but starting to produce some positivity here. AMD still going positive at this point. So now you have that divergence here on the hourly about to cross up. I would call it divergence. This difference between the two is very, very steep. So I'm going to call it divergence at this point. And yeah, you're seeing that start to curl up into positive territory. Looks like we could go get a positive move. I'd pay attention to this gap, this 190, if we see a lot of strength going forward. You have been bottled up for a very long time. So I did want to point out the fact that I believe the weekly range is somewhere up in this area, right? But we can use that level as support if we see an extremely bullish thing, right? If we see some extremely bullish news. Meta, you're seeing this one break. See, it's outside of its weekly expected move. I would more so be paying attention to these once we see setups, once we approach Friday and people can take profit. But PMI coming out, 51.4, not the worst news for the market, right? Completely different from yesterday. Got my risk ranges up, just in case. Data is excellent. NVIDIA rip, please. I'm so ready to dump it now. Yeah, Aaron's going through it right now, guys. Aaron's like, I'm having a stressful day. Look at that move. Okay, so we want to watch Apple, see if that's able to break to the upside. But all this has to do is get to this point and I can take profit. Literally, that's how easy this is. I'm just going to see if it hits up in this area and take profit. I'm going to take a little bit on this. See if we get that quick move up. Then it just hits something like 173.50. I'm like, all right, I'm out. And then I can say, oh, well, if this, I can do a 30-minute, see if that curls down, curls back up, positive territory, take another play here, play the upside, but turn into a swing trader for a brief moment. Video needs to hit 930 so I can never touch it again. You very well might, honestly. You very well might touch 930 this week. I don't think that's impossible by any means. I actually think we could end up testing this high by the end of the week. I think we maybe do something like an ABC type move this way, and then we hit 1,000, maybe even right before CPI. Oh, Inks, how'd that play go for you? Was it pretty good? What was it? Was it VRE? No. I know you were looking at this. VRT. Ooh, good move up. Hold on. 2 hour curling up positive territory. I don't want to be that guy. But this positivity can continue. But if you've made enough money, I totally understand. I would take profit too. But I'm seeing the 2 hour curl up. You got a lot of room here. You could probably come and test this high. But if you don't want that time to eat away at you and you made good money here, that's a great trade. 700 down in 3 days. Hey, that's all right. That's all right. You'll come back. You'll come back stronger. Just watch this 2 hour curl up today. Manifest that positivity, you know. Channel your inner white woman and manifest it, you know. That's what I do. Lucy, when Lucy comes out, things are getting manifested over here. Meta, look out. We're about to see this break to the upside. What if we break to the upside here? We get a little divergence down, you know, before Friday close. That would be interesting up here. We see some kind of dramatic drop. You just have to be a little more open on the SPY, the Qs, to these being lower highs because we got into negative territory. So if this rolls over, like with some selling at this level, okay, we can see that rollover go negative. But if that's why I'm saying I really would like to see us just kind of consolidate right before breaking through and then break through that later on this week. I think that would be very positive. Apple's still waiting for this guy to see some major strength here. AMD looking pretty good. So we got some time here. I haven't read the news about Facebook. Is there some Facebook news? It's actually heading up. There's something gonna head away the pain. DGG. Nothing really on here, but yeah, let's go look at those bonds real quick, right? So I took a little play on the bonds. Just noticing, like, if you look at this, look at the 15-minute. Kind of a crazy one, but you're seeing that steep divergence by positive territory. This is where it could flip around. So originally it's like play the first one, okay, I get out of my position, make a little bit, but get out, boom, see the next one. That's what I'm going to play now. I'm just taking a little play on this because if we get some kind of crazy thing to happen, like it goes up to $95 in 2 days, it'll be pretty good money. Oh, I did see that news. Yeah, I did see that news. I was actually looking at Netflix, seeing if it affected it at all. Mara seeing a decent little bounce, 2%. But these stocks are going up, right? So the 2 hour about to curl, it just curled up on Netflix. You could say, now we have to say, if this thing goes positive, test the high, make a new one. Till that happens, we could get that lower high, but it looks pretty strong. That's a strong bar. SMCI holding up right there, so that's where we put our little line. It's funny how those little lines like to work out a lot of the time. And this is it. Google starting to cross up, so you can see I sold my position. I'm just waiting. I think we could form a divergence up in this area over the next day or so, and we might get a post-Fed sell-off, and then get some kind of lower high or something with CPI. But as of right now, I think we could maybe pop up, fill some gaps, and then start to head lower. Now I'm open to this just crossing up. If this crosses up in this area, most likely we're going to the top side of the range. I'll just hold stuff a little bit longer. We might just see some stuff land outside of its weekly expected move this week. You have to be aware of that happening every single week. It can happen any week, but as of right now, 2 hour not able to curl up on Apple. The data's good, honestly. It came in a little lower. It's good if you can see the reaction from the market right now. You just know, hey, yeah, it's a good reaction to this. Solid pop up. Now we have to see, does Jerome Powell give away the gains right now? So we have about a little under 2 hours, but yeah, I heard they were like selling data or selling their data. That's why I don't like Facebook. That's why I think Facebook is going to really start to suffer. I think the things they're doing are just shady. And when you start to do shady things, it makes me very worried about your revenue. I still think Facebook's a great place to advertise, but it's like, if it's such a great place to advertise, then why are they doing the sketchy things? Like you got to think, if my company was very, very profitable, then why? Why would I do the sketchy things to make more money? It's like all I do, I'm setting myself up for some kind of backlash. No, thank you. Just delete some of this stuff here. Delete. Hey, DB Trades, I see it. I see that you joined the Patreon. That's what's up. That's what's up. I think we only need like 16 more members. Then I'm going to add 2 more stocks. We're going to vote on which other stock you guys want. Mark is such a damn lizard. He is a lizard, guys. We know he's a lizard. You guys, he's a lizard. We know. Wow, what a play. Yeah, Netflix is not a profitable company, which is very interesting. The thing is, Netflix would be, all of these, you guys know that all the streaming companies, they are not making any money, right? They are not profitable businesses. The problem that they mainly have actually is they were becoming profitable, and then they were becoming profitable, and then they started to make their own movies that cost like tens of millions of dollars, and then they put it on Netflix or Hulu or something. And it's like nobody pays extra. What they need to do is when they make a movie, they should sell it for $5, and they probably would actually make money now. Yeah, VRT just looked at it. 2 hour crossing up, positive territory. Looks like a good move going forward. So, but taking profit today would be a good attitude. That's a strong move. Jumping into some Apple calls here. Yeah, I want to wait for that confirmation from the hourly. I want to wait for this full confirmation, then I can be a little more confident, watch the 2 hour curl up. But as of right now, that's pretty solid. Good divergence here. You have structure to go higher. So my first selling point can be 173, and then I can just let the rest ride. So I can just make my money, just what I put into it at around 173.50. I could probably make some there, and then I just play with house money, see if it can get up to that 178 over the next few days. Took a quick 100 off the SPY. But isn't it great to have these weekly ranges for the SPY? Come on, this is awesome. Like, it's awesome when you see reactions like this. Boom, right off that point, we start to buy back up. Crazy, now we can turn up. If we start to fail around this area, I'm going to say triple divergence. If we exceed this level, you could go, like, make this like that over time. So, something to pay attention to there. Yeah, I'll see you in a couple hours. That's it. That sounds like a good idea. Wait for Jerome Powell to talk, which we'll be watching here live. Make sure to smash that like button so we get some peeps in here for Jerome Powell. Maybe I should have worn my clown makeup for today. So I'd be like my thumbnail. I could have, you know what? I should have cosplayed Jerome Powell. We understand that our decisions affect communities, people, communities. Let me do a different one. Check yourself. All right, that was a fun one. What's the other one? Close the fucking door. Those are all. That's Jerome Powell. Did you guys like that? We're going to wait till we're moving sustainably towards our 2% goal. We don't feel we're in full control of inflation, but the stock market should go up. He might as well say the last part, right? Right? He might as well just say, like, but I think the stock market should go up. You guys should buy. Like, he might as well say that, right? Trading has humbled my narcissism. How's your ego not inflating? Is that a genuine question? I'm not offended, by the way. I'm just asking if that's genuine or if it's rhetorical. So that being said, you think SPY will touch 522.33 on the max today? That's the red line. Yeah, that's just what it has priced in. So on the max, I mean, unless we get very good news. So if you get very good news, you can use it as support to head higher. So if we start to break through this, then you would say, okay, are we using it as support to head higher? 30-minute, what you want to pay attention to, is it going positive? I would like it to do something like this, kind of end the day here, and then we see another move higher later on. Might as well air pump at the speed. Yeah, it's pretty much. I think someone should really animate, if anyone's good at like putting stuff together. I'm not the best with Photoshop, but someone should Photoshop a picture of Jerome Powell as one of those. Is it a conquistador or the guy that messes with the bulls? And yeah, that's what I think he's doing right now. I think he's flashing the little red thing at the bulls, and the bulls keep chasing him around. But that's fine with me. I trade it. Not like that bad. I still just trade it back and forth. It's fine with me, but I'm just saying he makes things way more complicated. Hey, pal. Hey, pal. I have calls. Here, hold on. Hey, Jerome. What's up? Yeah, I'm streaming right now. Yeah. Yeah. No, they all think the market's going to crash with you, buddy. Oh, you're going to pump it? You're going to pump it higher? Yeah, I do see the MACD crossing here. Well, hey, I'm the technical trader here, Mr. Federal Reserve. Come on. Okay. Okay, I'll let them know. All right, cool. Bye. He said, thank you for calling me. So, I don't know what that means. I don't know what that means. He really said, thank you for calling me. No, I'm just kidding. It really could go either way, guys. We have the potential to go up now. We're starting to see this base out. Look at the react. Like I said, we just look at the SPY. The reaction off the 20 has been a big move every single time. Within 4 days, we're like 3% higher. So good shot that this goes higher from here, but we just want to be open to it. If we go towards that daily expected move right before he talks, maybe he says something bad's in the system. Who knows? They literally can look at codes, data without checking legal privacy. Yeah, so Facebook's been doing shady stuff like that for years. I used to advertise, with my clients back when I had my advertising job on Facebook. I had like 13 clients. We did a lot of Facebook work for their target audience. Wow, you must be a very important person. I'm an important person to like 2 people. That's pretty sick. It's pretty dope. Daughter and wifey think I'm pretty important, but that's all I can think of right now. Buy the dippers are going to lose big money dumping onto retail. You are completely right about that, unbranded videos. Completely right. So now all we have to do, guys, keep it very, very simple. All right. If the SPY rolls up and goes positive and just rolls down and goes negative on this 30-minute, that would be a reaction to here. We roll back down. Negative trend says that we're most likely going to test this low, if not take it out and make a new one. So once you do see this curl over, if it's able to curl over at this gap fill, right? The gap fills right with that daily expected move. Curl over, boom, we could see this actually break through the 20. at that point. So this would be a little signal like, hey, there's potential to break the 20 with this curling over, so be a little careful. Now, if you see that start to be flagging and we get a break to the upside, right, and then we start to head up, then we can change it. But as of right now, I would pay attention to that. 2 dogs. I have 3 dogs, but one of them's super old. Don't tell. It's her dog. No, he smells. Yeah. Yeah, I'm just giving you some insider info for sure. 100%. 100%. Me and Jerome, me and Jerome like to buy VIP passes to golf events and then sit in the VIP section and tell people they're not allowed up here. That's just what we do. It's just we're actually doing security's job for them. We just decided, we think they work really hard. So we just like to yell at people as they try to walk up our stairs and tell them they're not allowed up here. Yeah, that's what we do. Me and Jerome, pretty crazy. But man, that guy can drink. Guess what drink he likes, though? You guys will never guess what drink he likes. You guys will never guess Jerome Powell's favorite drink. Mimosa? Ooh, he does, every once in a while he drinks a little mimosa. Sean, thank you so much for joining. Really appreciate it. Beer? Uniworld. Beer? Polar Bear Man's closer with the milk thing, but God, beer? Jerome Powell's not a man? Oh, sorry, he is a man. Don't demonetize my... Oh, remember when I said my video would get demonetized yesterday? Got demonetized for singing. I'm sorry I sang to you guys for a split second. I'll never do it again. Jerome Powell likes this new seltzer. He actually came out with his own brand. He's a seltzer drinker, actually. He came out with his own brand. It's pretty cool. So his can, it actually has like an airplane on it, but it's like an airplane crashing, and he actually named it. It's called the Soft Landing Seltzer. It's called the Soft Landing Hard Seltzer. It's pretty cool. It's got a plane crashing on it. It's kind of like a hyperbole, kind of like a irony type thing. Yeah, pretty sick. I don't know who did his design, but it must have been crazy. But I heard Nancy Pelosi and her husband bought a lot of stock in it, so maybe we should look up the ticker. Oh, God. 920, we got Apple making that big move up. Wait, who's the one that took calls on this? Who did it? Who did it? DB, did you do it? Did you do it? DB? Who did it? Jumping into Apple calls. It was you. It was you. Should be looking decent for you right now. We'll see if this curls up. It's private. Oh, yeah. Sorry, guys. He just, he gave me those stock options because we're such good friends. Yeah. Sorry about that. My bad. Solid little trade setup here. Q's big move. Look at that, about to curl up. We could see this head upward, guys. This is strong. Jerome Powell's going to have to come out hawkish, and that hasn't happened in a long time. Do you think Powell could announce rate cuts today? I think he will most likely be trying to get this to come down. I think he will most likely be talking, that's how I would phrase it. He is going to be talking in a way that can try to get this to come back down. Because if this keeps going, I think it's like once it hits 5%, literally banks start failing left and right. So I don't think you want it to come up to 5%. I could be wrong about that. They could lie about that stuff. But as of right now, if you go up towards 5% or 4.5%, right? So this is 4.5-ish. If you go all the way up towards 5% again, which obviously is a lot higher, I understand that. If you go up to this level again, it's like we're most likely going to be seeing more than just small banks fail. That's what I'll say. VIX here, want to pay attention because the 30-minute about to roll down into negative territory. We're seeing some positivity. Just like that pregnancy test that my wife took over the summer, this is positive. Soft landing seltzer. It'll get you hard. No, that's not it. Keep steamrolling, and he's gonna. I'm just saying we haven't seen the market go down when Jerome Powell talks in a while. Like down significantly over the next even 3 days after he talks. For the most part, he's looking like he's just going to be bullish all the time. SPY, just want to pay attention to this. The thing is, 2 hour. This is what has to curl up, right? The 2 hour has been good to us this whole time, so we want to pay attention. We could see big moves from the 2 hour crossing up. It is tight, so it's hard to get into these trades, but somewhere around this area, right, you'd be comfortable with this bar right here, taking that to the upside, seeing that cross up, positive territory, boom. This one here was very, very good. Good entry point right around here, boom. So 2 hours been good to us around this area, right around that 50 on the 2 hour, just below it. We have the 20 below us. We've seen huge reactions from the 20 almost every single time. Oh yeah, NVIDIA, we might need to check on that guy every once in a while, huh? The hourly or the 2 hour looking like it wants to curl up now, so look at that NVIDIA play popping off for you a little bit there. Sorry, tell me what I gotta do. NVIDIA. Oh, no singing. Guys, you have to tell me to shut it. I'm not allowed to sing. I literally got demonetized again because I sang for 10 seconds. You guys were like, you're not going to get demonetized for that. You do. All right, 2 hour, weirdly enough, about to curl up, maybe go positive for AM Dizzle. AM Dizzle about to go up a little bit there. Meta, one thing to pay attention to with Meta, outside of its weekly expected move, if we see a big move here, watch out. That might get given up at this point. Get given up. But you can see the top side of that weekly expected move. I gave you it. This is what we give out on Patreon for Meta. 501.14. You're outside of that again. So we could get that big reaction up. Does that start to fail? That's what we're going to have to pay attention to. Not a good sign. The fact that we're up in this area right now. Put a call at 9:30. A lot of people buying those 9:30 calls. Qs are ripping. Qs are ripping. They can cross over on this 2 hour. My goodness, where are we going to go? Well, I'm going to connect these points because we're starting to taper off a little bit. I would say we could go, I'll say up to the weekly expected move at this point, right? I'm going to draw a few points for myself here, but as of right now, I think we have a good shot at a lower high up in this area, even right after. If we see that extreme positivity on that 2 hour crossing, I'd say we're probably going to make a higher point. I'd look at 451. Was yesterday a bear trap? Well, if you were watching our videos, you could have inferred that it was going to be a bear trap based on what we were saying. Sure, we gave both sides, but mainly we were talking about this. Even over on Patreon, talking about this, given this trade setup. The 30-minute here giving you a divergence very close to positive territory. So this is when we pay attention. We can be safe with it, take a stop down at this area. Boom, we see that base out come up. Even if you get a stop here, if you come down like this and curl back up, you get a triple divergence. You can just get right back in that position. So now we're seeing that catch to the upside. You want to see if the 2 hour can roll up. This is your real confirmation to hold this for another day or two, is if this 2 hour curls up. Because you'll notice when the 2 hour does curl up, boom, we get a big move, right? 2 hour curls up right here near that center line, boom, it goes positive. Back over here, look at this, curls up, even right here, curled up right here, boom, goes positive. So there's a lot of times where it beats down to that center line, right? And then we get that small bar to pop up. Maybe you take this guy because it closed. Well, no, that one's kind of rough to do, but maybe you see a moving average. The 20 was right here. So you want to take a play on it. Boom, crosses up positive, positive, positive. So if the 2 hour curls up, it is a very good sign. I think if the 2 hour curls up, we're probably testing this high this week. Don't quote me too much on that, but we have to see what Jerome Powell says. You know, very important to pay attention to the reaction to Jerome Powell. But seeing a lot of stuff. I want to look at Google. Google's still not able to break fully to the upside. 2 hour looks like it wants to cross. On Google, look at the 30-minute. I think this little 30-minute divergence would be a great time to get in if it gives it to us, right? This kind of looks like Meta. Meta came outside of it, dropped down, and then popped up, then went back up the next time. If this would do this and that, I would really like that for an entry into going into the next like month worth. I would literally buy that for a whole month to the downside. Up 660 on Nvidia. Congratulations. Nope, no singing. Remember, you're looking for a bounce. High chance I was here. Some bears weren't. Yeah. We're just looking for bounces here. We're seeing structure for bounces. Now you're getting a green bar on this histogram for Apple. So the probability of bouncing here is very, very good now. You have a very good probability to see a bounce on Apple, which means, you know, we're going to see probably the Qs, the SPY. We're going to see everything go up. God, I can't get comfy. Can't get comfy. There we go. I just want to hear Powell tell someone to check themselves today. God, I hope he gives us another quote. I hope he gives us another quote for today. Shoot, like a few months ago, we got close the fucking door, and then we get check yourself, and now what are we going to get? I'm really excited. What was my TikTok account? It was it was like an alcohol, like it was around alcohol. I had an app that showed restaurant specials. You guys know that's the app I made, and then COVID put it out of business. Lost a little bit of everything there. But yeah, it was just a comedy channel. Most of the people that followed me were like gay dudes and girls who love wine because I like that style of humor. So I'd put on a pink sweatshirt and say something stupid, just like I did now. I think one of the ones that did really well for me was I was like, look, it's Saturday, so we're going to go out this weekend and we're going to shake our ass. But first, we have to go to the gym because we have to lift weights, then make mistakes. And people thought that was hilarious. It got like 1 million views and stuff. Oh, I don't have that. Like, there's none of the TikTok videos up anymore, Robert. Or else I'd show it to you. But no, I deleted that entire thing. Once I saw the people on the other side of the social world, like once you get high enough up, like I was not that high up, guys. Don't think that. But once you get high enough there, you start to converse with people who are higher up than you. You realize that nobody in that world is friends for real. They're all just little content. They're using each other for content. They're using each other for likes and stuff. And I just I didn't like that. Did I make good money from TikTok? When I live streamed, I'd make like the reason that I was able to make money from TikTok is because I have a business degree and I know how to like do some stuff. I know how to market. So I made sweatshirts and I made about, I think I made like $4,000 a month or something like that from sweatshirts, $3,000 a month. And then TikTok would pay me about, I want to say like $200 a month, maybe. Oh, baby, I think it's going to drop. I was trying to do online marketing, was talking to my friend about it, UGC stuff. Are you saying there are personas? I would have never thought that. They are personas. No, I'm not really saying they're personas. It's like they made a persona and then that took over their whole personality. So now it's like them now. Like I don't know the best way to put it, but I would more so describe it as like people just use you for content and things like that. Like if you don't have a platform that has followers that can increase another person's followers, then they're just not going to talk to you. I was sought after. I mean, I got offered to do comedy in Florida, in New York, stand-up stuff. Got invited to a bunch of podcasts, but I was just like, no, I'm too old for this shit now. I'm like, my app's out of business. I'm not doing this long term. Would love to see some consolidation here. You really would. Like, this is the area. If we can just hang out up here the rest of the day, yeah, but we're most likely going to see some kind of reaction from Powell. The thing is, if you look how we go up, this is good liquidity in here. Weren't able to complete the cup, right? So if we can come up to this area again, see that base out, test this area here, get another one, we can kind of stair step our way up. What's the worst thing Powell could say? He would say, "Hey guys, we are not in." This is probably the worst thing would be, "We are not in control of inflation, and we have to raise rates dramatically right now, or else we're going to experience hyperinflation." That would be the worst thing that he could say. That would be very much so Great Depression territory, because if you raise those rates, all of your banks are going to suffer. And either he's going to pump more money into the system to save them, and our taxpayers are going to go more into $300,000 worth of debt or something each. But it would take care of the problem. That's the thing. You just have to like reset everything. So if you're looking for a financial reset, hyperinflation might actually give you the reset. That's what I'd say is the worst. The sneaky bad thing he could say is giving you a date when he's going to cut. That's very close. Like say in a couple of months. I think we were saying June. I was saying June. If he announces a cut for June, that might be positive initially, and then we top out and we actually start to come down once that rate cut actually happens. So if he says he's going to dramatically raise rates, that's obviously the worst thing. That should be the worst thing. But the sneaky bad thing would be if he says, "Oh, we're going to cut rates right now," and people see that as bullish. That's actually that means that he most likely knows something is broken in the system, and he knows banks are under pressure, which they are, right? Look at the yield. The yield is just still going up here. Now we have divergences, things like that. Read a grain of salt with that. You don't necessarily want to do that, but you can do some technicals on TLT. That's pretty good. There's a bunch of little divergences down here, so I'm going to take a little play. Volatility, we see that dropping off, so now maybe we come fill this gap or just get a retest and then we go. This still could pop off today. 1 hour, able to cross on Apple. Let's go. There it is. So now you need a confirmation bar here to get out of the wedge, and then the 2 hour to cross up. Two things to hold this for a couple more days today. If you see that today, I would just, I'll be probably holding mine. But starting out, nice little 15% so far, but we'll have to see if we can make some more on that. I think I'm going to hold this just a little bit. And then I'm going to wait. I'm mainly just saying I'm ready to hit the sell button right when Jerome Powell comes in as well. Atlanta Fed says 1 rate cut this year. Any place to send profit screenshots? Not necessarily. You can probably send it over on... Ooh. Can you send it on... Can you send a picture to me on... Patreon? Someone's got to check that. I don't know if you can send a picture on Patreon. See, that is where a Discord would be good. Once I get, once baby girl grows up a little bit, we'll probably be doing a Discord group. All right, we'll probably be doing a good Discord group in there, where you can show off some trades. I don't know if I don't know how. I've never done a financial Discord before. I had one for my TikTok when I was streaming comedy stuff. That was a lot of fun. I used to do charities and stuff. I mean, honestly, you could send it to my email. I don't mind. Just no DPs. Since February 28th, I'm up 350%. Yesterday, it was like 240 or 270. Paracosm out there killing it. PayPal for coffee. Hope for a short squeeze on SoFi. Let's go look at SoFi. I remember you asking about that. My bad. Sometimes I get forgetful. All right, so actually, SoFi not that bad. This is pretty good consolidation. Coming up into a point where you can get head and shoulders. Break to the upside. You really want to break through 750 cleanly, right? 750 close, or I guess 755. Close above that level looks pretty good, but curling up, 2 hour, positive territory. Boom, see that reaction up. If you're going to see a bigger reaction here, let's look at where we're at in this wedge. You can extend this for quite some time. You know what I mean? Maybe we pop up, then we pop back down, and then at earnings, you get that move. But be careful around the earnings, right? But I'm just saying that because then you'd have a daily divergence. I'd feel better about it. But you could say, hey, if this pops up to here, maybe I take a little off the table, comes up, gets the retest. Well, look across here. So this point here is where I'd really think we'd head to if we see some strength. 906, something like that. Then we kind of taper off like this, get that retest, left, head, right shoulder. That would be a very good looking move there. Very good structure, actually, to head up. So that's what I'd pay attention. It looks like it could get to about $9. That's pretty good. How's this 2 hour doing for NVIDIA? Ooh, look at that. Right before JP talks, we look like we want to go up. Lost 2K on Monday on NVIDIA, took 100% off top. Hey, that's still good, though. And Marina, thank you so much for the coffee. You guys know I love my coffee. Hell yeah, give me some coffee. I love my coffee. Alright, get those weekly ranges back up. You need to moderate Discord or goes to shit. Yeah, and weirdly enough, when I was streaming on TikTok, that's how me and my wife kind of met. Was she thought I was cute, and I was a very funny TikToker who was booming at the time. She was a cosplayer who was doing stuff. If you guys know gaming stuff, she was like on some panels for dating shows with Disguised Toast and things like that. She's an artist. She's very, very good. I have to show you guys some of her big paintings. Like, she sold one here in town. We just held a garage sale. We just sat outside. It was nice weather. Some people came up and they paid her like $250 for a painting, and I was like, damn, they just made an offer on it. Okay, what was I thinking? Market go up today, emailed profit. Let me check that. Let me see this little profit you got there. Hey, dude, that is fantastic. Congratulations. Hell yeah. That is so cool. Dude, that is so good. 358% in 3 months. That is crazy. That is so sick. I'm so proud of you, Paracosm. Look at you. Dang, 350%. You gotta like go on a vacation or something. My god. That is solid. Market's gonna tank, says Nav, and I think it very well could. I just think there might be one more push higher first to fake us out. I think Jerome Powell's been bullish this whole time, and I highly doubt he comes out and is just like, screw the market. I mean, maybe he does, but I would think he'd at least like somehow make it Trump's fault or not his. Head fake, yeah, that's kind of what I'm seeing. Ink says congrats. Everyone in here should be saying congrats. Like for that trade. Paracosm trading very, very well over the last 3 months. And you just joined the channel, so welcome to the channel. Hopefully we give you some tools that help you out a little bit too. Weekly ranges and things like that. Hopefully that's able to help you out just a little bit. AMD getting a green bar on the 2 hour histogram right here. Learned a lot here already. Hey, that's awesome. Took a call on TLT. Let's see how that's shaping up. Looking like we're getting a little bit of green down here. Remember, TLT giving you this possible like 30-minute divergence is what I was looking for. But if you look at the 15, almost a triple divergence right by positive territory. Now you are kind of flagging still. You want to see a strong move from here. Maybe you'll get that around Jerome Powell time. Ooh, Palantir. Let's go look at that. I don't know, my brain farted. Oh. I am going based off what the data says. I take a trade right before it, and I literally have the sell right there. I have my stops in place very, very tight. And then all I do is take the other direction if it goes the wrong way. So that's how I do it. I know that other people haven't been trading as long as me, so I just encourage you, I'm talking about Paul. Oh, well, yeah, well, and that's why I'm giving that advice too, is just because, hey, we're seeing Powell again say he's dependent on data, so we have to be. It's kind of lame, Willow, isn't it? Waiting like a hawk to snipe some meta puts. Let's go. 2 hour, if this can curl up for Palantir, that would be a decent sign. if you're going to overall be shorting, you are building up towards the center line. This is where you really could see that start to drop off again, but you actually had a divergence right here on the MACD and RSI at the same time, which can curl up the 2 hours. So be a little cautious. If you see a positive move on the 2 hour here, I would encourage you to take a second look at those shorts, because the 2 hour here could be saying, hey, I have 30-minute divergence. I want to cross up and see some kind of positive move. So I just pay attention to that. But you are breaking through. Remember, we were saying break through this level, but we're buying back above it. I think you have a shot for another lower high in this area. And then we can look around this area, see if that the hourly, the 2 hour curls back over, breaks through. Most likely we're going to hit that low. So that's what I would say there. VIX actually going negative now. Look at that 2 hour overextended. Could be falling back down right here. You'll find myself stopping by every day to tune in to the analysis. You've been killing it, man. Yeah, I feel like we've had a good, we've had our finger on the pulse of the market, right? We've been getting that pulse. Now we're seeing TLT looking like it could bounce up. Now we're seeing some stuff that looks like we could get a bounce right around the 20. So we have to be open to the moment where we're wrong, right? You don't get it right forever. So we have to be open to the moment where we're going to be wrong about something. And that's why just taking profit a little earlier, right? Even on Apple here, seeing that break to the upside, this is great. But what am I going to do? Am I going to play this full measured move, try to go into this zone, do all that stuff? No, I'm just going to say this right here is probably enough to double my position. So this right here is where I'm planning on taking profit, right around that 173, 173.50. Is Tesla setting up a move higher from here? Naveed, we haven't looked at Tesla too much here. I would say I could get a retest. This is dropping off dramatically. Okay, so you notice at first we're selling kind of like this, almost like flagging, right? And now you're seeing that selling turn into this. That is not a good thing. What you can start to see here is some kind of movement, maybe like this, right? Something like this in order to curl back down. But good point to pay attention for a bounce. How you can play this on the downside, how I like to do it when it's below, when it's seeing some real big weakness. Look for that to curl up. See that curl right back down. That curls up, curls back down. You know this low is going to get tested. This MACD crosses over. You could go make a new one. You have another point to pay attention to. You could just be like, I'm going to take profit at this low. I'm going to take profit right here. Still some good trades here. Could we base out from this level? Well, the daily hasn't fully rolled over or anything like that, but you do have potential for a triple divergence here. As we are most likely seeing a setup with Apple, I'm just going to say the probability here, you know, when you look at Apple after looking at the chart, is that you could see some positivity, maybe come reconnect with those moving averages as you're at the bottom Bollinger. So when you test bottom Bollinger, a lot of the time you want to gravitate towards it. Now we could just move sideways and up and then see that reject, but you want to see if you get that reaction, then you want to pay attention. Are you able to take it back? So that's what we'll pay attention to. I might get rid of a lot of these lines except for that one retest one at this point. Airbnb is probably going to go out of business soon. No. Airbnb, big divergence up here, and you have a divergence on the RSI again. So triple divergence on the RSI here. You can see I used to trade Airbnb back in the day. So I have some drawings up with my yellow lines. Now we switch to blue because it looks cooler. Okay, but you see the divergence up here. So entry point would have been maybe on this bar here, and now you're starting to see that happen. So what you could do on Airbnb is look at a 2 hour if you expect some kind of bounce here, right? So if you looked on the 2 hour here, well, you could have taken a couple positions in here, came down, probably made 100% on this move right here if you're able to catch a couple positions up here. And then that bounces back up. You see the divergence again, even steeper, closer to negative territory. Your entry point for a trade like this right here at 1430. 1430. So you could have been in on this on 167.47 to the downside. Been pretty confident it's at least going to test this low. Where do we go? We test that low. Important thing here, you gapped below this low a little bit. Okay, you gapped a little bit below it, so you have to say if we consolidate, we can head lower. So you might want to actually look at a 30-minute. If the 2 hour curls up, positive territory, we can see an upward move. Is that going to be a lower high? Now at this point with Airbnb, I have to say kind of flaggy here. Remember, if this builds up to the center line, crosses over, take out this logo, make a new one. It does look like it wants to bounce still, and the market looks like it wants to bounce. I'm not going to say it looks like it wants to bounce. I don't think it really does. This looks like rejection of a retest, right? So we break through that level. Now we're just testing it a bunch of times. In order for me to get bullish, I want that 2 hour to curl up. I'm just going to be safe with it. Say if that 2 hour curls up, it can go to about here, and then it'll curl up on the MACD. Positive territory, entry here. Maybe you play the top side there. But as of right now, you're not seeing any like setups that I would pay attention to besides just like, hey, it's been beat down for a little while. Maybe it's testing a daily moving average. All right, this is where the Qs can cross. Remember, the opposite can happen, right? We said extreme selling if we break through these levels. We can get extreme buying if we break through the top side here. So we could head all the way towards 451 this week. Oh, the Dow. We haven't looked at the Dow yet today, really, so that's something to pay attention to. Remember the 2 hour divergence we had up here? This is what signaled for the Dow. Now you have to say you have an opportunity, as we are in negative territory, for a lower high. So what if we just do this for a couple of days, and then next week it's given away? CPI next week going to be very, very important. Daniel Chang Yi, thank you so much for the super chat. $4.99. He's about to... Where is it? Which way do I point? This way. There it is. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Really do appreciate it. Yeah, you guys are just awesome. Okay, if we see dovish Powell today, do you think Nvidia can get through 920 this week? Yeah, so I would be, if I see it's a bullishness, I can pay attention to the top side of my weekly expected move for Nvidia. So if you want a good target, go down the link in the description. We're adding stocks to it a lot. So you can look for the weekly ranges. That's all the options market priced in, right? So for this week, it's probably somewhere around this high, I think. So I would say if I see a strong move, we could go all the way up towards 965 before we see selling come in. So if we see a strong move here, I think we have a good shot to create a divergence before CPI. But that's just what I think. Make sure to wait for those confirmations. This rolling up on the MACD. Make sure to wait. I really think it's got a good shot to test this level again if we can just roll up. So that's why we have to pay attention to Mr. Jerome Powell. J Pizzle for Dizzle. Wait, J Pizzle for Shizzle Dizzle. God. Come on. But JP is going to have a rough day today because, wow, those yields are holding higher, but TLT is starting to bounce a little bit. 2 hour divergence down here. Yeah, dude, that's the thing about, like, before these big events, you'll just see a lot of stuff move sideways. So it's very interesting to see the cues, to see everything, like, pumping before the event. A lot of stuff moves sideways. Even TLT likes to move sideways. So very interesting to see this actually pop up. Daniel bought me some coffee. Marina bought me some coffee today. That's what's up. And yeah, so Nvidia, it looks like we could make a move higher. I think 965 looks pretty good. Got to make sure these cross though. If these don't cross, right? He could come out, say something bad. I mean, that would be pretty bearish, right? If he just comes out right as we hit this move here and then we fall down. But you have to assume he's going to keep a similar tone at this point. Boom, boom, boom is what could possibly happen. Look for a divergence up in this area. Then we'll say, oh, maybe we start to rug pull going on into next week. Come on, Lil Divergence. Is that my rapper name still? Lil Divergence. Lil Div. All right, anything else we can really pay attention to? Anyone seeing some good moves? Let's look down the line here. Meta's one that I really want to pay attention to. If this keeps seeing strength, we could just pop up to this area. We've sold off from here multiple times now, so that's something very, very interesting. Netflix seeing a pretty strong move here. Look at that move from Netflix curling up on the 2 hour. Looks like we're going to make a new high here. Curl back up, positive territory. Maybe we're going to go make some kind of divergence that gets us really close to negative territory. NVIDIA does seem like it's breaking down, but you guys, NVIDIA is not weak. This is a 20-day moving average. This is not weak. If you're thinking NVIDIA is weak, it's like, okay, I think NVIDIA is weak, and then it goes up. I think NVIDIA is weak around here, oh, it goes up. I think NVIDIA is weak, and it goes up. I think NVIDIA is weak, it goes up. So don't get in that mentality of it has to go down. Just wait for the setup. The setup is coming. Trust me. Once it is very weak, you will see this 20 lost. We're compiling in this area. We might just get a move like that and then be done, right? But what could I do to pay attention to that? See if this 2-hour curls up. Then I know the positivity is coming. Now, if it starts to lose that 20 that's underneath it, Plex Planet starts to lose that 20, it can be a little bit worse. But right now, you're seeing it want to possibly curl up positive territory. So you can't say it's weak. It's still above its 20. But you can say, maybe I look for a point where that weakness can really come in. Maybe a divergence is made. Maybe a double top is made in this area. That gives me a divergence very close to negative territory. Something we go over in the course a lot is about MACD behavior, about why divergences are important. And that's something very good. And that's down in the description if you guys want to get that course. Uber is moving today. NVIDIA is really holding a 80 yesterday. Retest to 950 is possible. Can you look at SMCI? Do you think a head and shoulders is going to play out? SMCI actually have some consolidation to head higher. You see the consolidation in here to head higher. 30-minute. Look at this guy. Looks like it wants to curl up. Positive territory. See if we're holding any divergence here. You got divergence on the 30-minute. You have that divergence. Actually on the RSI at the same time, flatness. Right? So we actually could see a reaction up from here. Pay attention to the 2-hour. If the 2-hour just wants to curl up, look where it is. It's positive territory. You could get another move here. Maybe we test these highs I haven't marked off right up here. If we actually make a move higher, well, we could see where that would maybe land us. Let's see what levels we could possibly test with this move. If we broke out right away, well, we're going to test this liquidity up in here. MU was a great ride. Hulk Hogan's on NVIDIA. Just making him angry and getting all green and stuff now. Moo. It was under your 20. Now, my 20 is an SMA. Nope, my 20 is an EMA. I'm stupid. I'm being dumb. I had to double check. So you want to check, maybe yours is an SMA, but mine's an EMA. That's an exponential one. But it was down below it at one point. It is below it. At some point today, it was below it. It's not right now. One last all-time high, says Amin. He says, we are going to get one more big trap. One more big fake out. 2-hour, curls up, positive territory. Everyone says, holy crap, he announced a rate cut. Kaplunk. We'll see. Like I said, he hasn't even talked yet. We got an hour and 5 minutes left. Wish I could play tunes, but I get in trouble every single time. Good morning, Alan. Now let's look at this one. Whoa! Whoa! See, imagine you were just like 2-hour crosses up, positive territory, buy, boom. You'd be in that move. Pretty crazy. Daily. Yeah, that thing's blowing off the top here. Oh, God. What if Jerome Powell gives positive news, too? Just freaking Micron goes insane. AMD, pretty solid move there. Still stuck below your moving averages, but a decent little move there. I need to find like the zoom key. Is this how you zoom? No, that's just how you type. You guys want to look at Zillow? Ooh, divergence. 2-hour divergence down here. We can get a reaction. Oh, gosh. This one, see, you're losing your 20. Look at this. Look at this, okay? So, thank you so much, Albert Costa. Thank you so much for joining us today. notice this. When did we get in some serious trouble? Well, we started to lose. We got divergence. Well, not really divergence, but we break through the consolidation, right? So what happens at that point? Well, we crossed over on the MACD to the downside, and then we get that confirmation. We break through the structure. Look at that. Right as we go negative, you get this huge bar down. Now you're seeing some 30-minute divergence here, so the 2-hour could get some kind of move upward. See if that's able to hold, but interesting for Zillow. Let's stick to our 2 hours. 2 hours look pretty good. I caught the pump and got out with 100 points. Done for the day. That's what's up. That's what's up. Now you don't have to trade through any craziness that Jerome Powell could give us. Oh, man. Microsoft is going to be a great trade. Okay, Microsoft might be one of my favorites. Microsoft, as far as finding a position, could be so good. Like, if this does this for the rest of this week, if it just goes, touches this point, we could do something like that, get 2 entries. Oh my gosh, that would be... I'm going to be looking at that one. I'm mainly going to weigh on Patreon and give some setups once we see maybe some upward moves. So maybe by Friday, we'll give you guys that video out on YouTube, or on Patreon. Patreon only, you guys get some trade setups in an actual video, so we talk about the trade setups. This curling up, going positive. There's some big resistance up here. Yeah, a lot of stuff is like about to curl up, but a lot of stuff is outside its range. Are we just gonna... Did I just delete Microsoft? I always forget the ticker. God dang it, I keep hitting the delete button around my stocks and it's really bugging me. All right, there we go. All right, so one more up. There we go. So if this curls up, look at that trade setup that could be there. You have the divergence on a 2-hour now. God, that would be so good. It looks almost as good as Google right now. Like, look at that. It looks so good. As far as taking a, like, hedge or something. Do you think a video will break out today upon good news from Jerome Powell? A bounce off this 20-day moving average, perhaps hold the 930 call. Yeah, I think we could go as high as 965. But you really want to pay attention. This thing can go the wrong way on you pretty quick. Even me, I have positions at this point for some upside. But I'm keeping my stop literally every single time I see a new green bar. If I see another green bar here, I'm going to make my stop the low. Make my stop the low. I think this could just do that. So if I get that confirmation, I'll just hold it. See if it wants to test this level. I think this level is really good for a test this week. But I'm just saying, it's a time to be like, ah, crap, you know, we got a lot of stuff moving outside of its range. We have a lot of stuff moving outside of its range right now. Boom, that's one of them. Google, that's another one of them. So, little worrisome. You see the divergence at the same time right now. Time to be like, oof, that's a little sketch. TLT, finally seeing that bounce up a little bit, showing this 30-minute divergence. Well, 15-minute triple divergence. Who's boss? Look at that. 15-minute triple divergence. Still kind of flaggy. So we need to see some strong buying here. We're going to get that maybe around Jerome Powell. But VIX about to cross over on the 2-hour. This is where you could get a closing of this gap. Now, what would happen here? What if we create another point of reference in these divergences in positive territory? That's a very, very good sign that we're going to see a sell-off. Yeah, you wait till after Jerome Powell if you're going to do like a trade while he's, you know, throughout the day today. Just know that that reaction can be ripped away tomorrow. We can have a, you know, buy Jerome Powell, sell the next day. Ow, God, my knee. Ghost got your back. Oh my gosh, dude, I am just hurting everyone. I'm sorry, Al Pal. The boy. Kick my dog. All right, so volatility looking like it wants to drop down. I know that I left you guys on there, and that's super boring. My ADHD kicked in, and I had to pet my dog. It makes sense if you don't think about it. This here coming up into a support level. Remember HYG, HGX looking like it wants to see some kind of bounce from here, so we'll pay attention to that going forward. The Dow looking like it might want to get some kind of bounce. Maybe to just go fill the gap and then it fails. Maybe it wants to retest the base of this double top, something like that. Could be retesting it almost right now. So Maybe we want to get a little reaction here. We'll have to pay attention to that going forward. The SPY looking like it wants to curl up. Remember, we got a long time for that 2 hour to curl up. You got some positivity that could come, but boom, it would probably be hitting up in here. PPI the next day, PPI will be the last straw for this rally. It very well could be. That's why we were stating to mark that off. The Qs are the ones that look actually like more potential upside here, just because it's closer to crossing on the MACD here. We have some room to go up right here. So I'd be looking for a 2 hour divergence at this point, right at these highs. Could be a good signal. IWM, what are you doing today? Seeing a reaction up, right? Curls up, maybe gives us a subtle divergence here. Apple, still looking strong. We just need to break through that wedge, right? We need to break through, get a green bar on this histogram down here. Then we can say, oh, a little more confident. Tesla, look at that, buying back up. So if this wants to curl up, we could see a big move up to here. We very well could. We kind of skipped the whole cup and handle. So at this point, where are we creating this? Yeah, you'd want to almost create that cup a little bit lower. So maybe if this breaks down a little lower, then you get an actual cup over here with a handle. But as this does just curl back up, goes into positive territory, we can see some kind of retest. We can go test that 180.92 again. That'd probably be the most likely scenario here. Seeing another divergence form here on Amazon. That's what I'm saying. Like, we're seeing some stocks get overly, I would say, bullish before this event, so it's a little bit like, hey, let me just have my warning sign up as of right now. Doesn't mean I have to like read into it too much. Amazon 185 area is where it could start to struggle, so it does have some room to the upside. Nvidia not able to cross on this 2 hour just yet. We might see this kind of fade for the next hour because people might wait to hear the news from Jerome Powell to get positive on this. The problem with the SPY at this point, with this buying up, is I want you to look at this MACD down here. Where is it on the 30-minute? It's still negative. All of this positivity is still in negative territory at this point. So if he says anything wrong, boom, we can do this, and maybe we get a bounce into the end of the week, right? We have to be open to everything. Maybe we get that bounce into the end of the week. So you have to say, still negative. If this rolls over, we're going to test this low, go make a new one. Be a little careful. If this 2 hour can fully curl up, I would say on Nvidia, you just watch this guy. If that's able to curl up, then we're most likely going to see positivity across the board. AMD, this one as well. You see that crossing up, little 2 hour getting very close to positive territory. So we could be seeing a good move here. Where do I think that starts to struggle? I'd say somewhere around right this gap fill, 190.50, where I'd be paying attention for AMD. Meta, this thing just consolidating, right? We talked about the consolidation at this point, and guess where it's touching right now? So if we wanted to see this drop off just a little bit, you can see this triangle we're starting to form here, price getting a little bit tighter. Maybe we want that to extend for a little bit of time. Maybe that extends all the way onto CPI or something like that, and we do that. Definitely possible. I'm not leaning towards it. I think we're going to see a breakup or a breakdown today, tomorrow, this week. We'll say this week. Tesla, good shot at a higher low, actually. That's one thing you could say about this. Good shot at a higher low. If it's able to curl up and go positive, hey, we could see that extend for a little bit of time. I wouldn't be that convinced. I don't think we're really breaking through. We kind of failed a head and shoulders, right? So that's something to pay attention to. We failed one just now. So maybe we're actually just going to create this over here. Something like that would make a lot of sense for Tesla. Then the only ones we really didn't look at were Microsoft. This looks like curls up, positive territory. This is going to be a great trade, guys. I'm going to put this on Patreon if it forms. Boom, up to here. Crosses back down. You know, gets you a divergence really close to negative territory. That would be a solid sign. And if you've been taking the course and you've been on Patreon, you know why Microsoft is a great setup. Google, this one here, more so looking at a 30-minute, seeing if it creates a little 30-minute divergence. If it can just pop up positive territory, get that as well. Google looks like a solid trade setup as well in the future, at least for hedging any kind of downside, any kind of crash risk. So let's go over to the SPY on a 2 hour for a little bit. We're just going to let it chill here, and I'm going to read through chat again. Actually, I like the Qs better. The Qs look better. Like, that is such a strong move. That is so crazy. VIX has a gap around 13 with positivity. It might try to close the gap. Yeah, I think we do probably try to close that gap. We create another little divergence there. Hi, thank you, sir. You're right. Thanks, John. Do you think NVIDIA will break out today upon good news from Powell? Okay, yeah, I think we answered that. GNT up high. Wish I would have purchased more shares when it was at 66. Oh well, still made some profit. You need to rephrase that thinking there. What if you bought no shares? What if you bought no shares? You wouldn't have anything positive there. Why don't you say, thank goodness I bought some of this because I made some money out of it? That's just all I would say. I like anime. Spin it into a positive. Go high five yourself in the mirror. Do you know how many people probably lost money on that trade that you just made money on? Be happy about all your profits, guys, even if they're small. Slow way's the good way, or the slow way's the fast way to make money in the market. I'm doing the slow way. I do it very slow. I just keep adding little chunks every single week. Little chunks. And then you can be as good as Paracosm and make 350% in 3 months. Oh god, that's so awesome. Do I have a target percentage for each little gain? So I have things with myself where I say in certain environments I have my swing trading has an obvious get in, get out. Very obvious. Maybe I'll make a swing trading course at some point after we go through a bear market. Right now, bear market strategy is probably going to be the best. You learn about the indicators in the course down there. But overall, what I like to do is whatever I make, if I find an amount significant, I really like to take profit when I hit 50%, 100%, or like 200%. Really like that. Especially in an environment like this, I will take profit a lot quicker. You'll see me take profit at 20%, 50%, and 100%. Most likely I'm going for, very obvious moves at this point. So I don't say, that's why I don't do targets. Right? Because then I could trick myself out. What if I go, oh, this here is a double top, so now I'm going to measure this out. If it breaks through this low, I can target all the way down to 422.87. Okay, look at this. Well, all this price action happens, right? We break through the low, and now I go, okay, I need to hold until I get to 420, and it just bounces right back up. So this double top didn't play out. So what I would say is, if I take a position up here, did I make 50%, 100% down in this area? Did I make a significant amount in this area, and am I seeing reversal signals, crosses on the 2 hours to the upside? I'm out. So I just like to take profit a lot earlier in a market like this. I've been doing that a lot lately. So VIX options just barely reached 200% yesterday. Yeah, that was my play yesterday. So volatility was my good play from yesterday. And I took profit on my Google shorts today, just in case we see an upward move to get a better position. I got in, call in, cost, made a nice profit. Congratulations. 200% gain on a 14 call. Yeah, mine, I took calls a little closer than that, but it was pretty good. It was pretty good. I think I made 100 and... No, I didn't make 200%. I made like 120%. I got out before the second big push. Like I said, I made my money early. Volatility is not something to mess around with. I took option plays on UVXY, so I'm not going to mess around with that. So I take my profit. We got about 49 minutes till we watch some Jerome Powell. We need to take a look at the dollar. Yeah, we can take a look at the dollar. We haven't really looked at that today. It's dropping off around, like in this area, right? We're seeing it drop off. Let's just do a daily. Seeing it drop off. So what could be happening here? First of all, we could be getting some kind of like divergence up here. That could just lead to this falling down. But I think this has a good shot to go retest the 200. I think we're going to go retest the 200 for a few days here. See if that's able to base out. But as this does trickle down, you have to say someone's buying a lot into this move. The dollar was coming down yesterday. So that's why I was like, I think we might get a pop here. We're seeing some people get into this. Maybe it's a big guy trying to make a play or something. But yeah, dollar, it doesn't look pretty. It doesn't look pretty. You're in positive territory. So you just really, if this is going to fully break down, we get inflation, blow off top, crosses over on the MACD, goes negative. By the time that happens, you're probably going to cross right around here. You're going to go negative as you break through. So I'm not leaning towards that. I think we're going to see like 2-3 days of red on the dollar, and then that just rejects, turns right back up, positive territory. That's what I would say. It's the Catalina wine mixer. They've been dropping rigs to firm up prices. Yeah, oil game's been kind of crazy lately too. But if you're investing in oil, I mean, you can't be complaining at this point. If you invested down at 68, yeah, it goes up to here. That's crazy. Actually, I guess USO is probably the better one to look at. Look at that USO. You were like, oh, I caught a bottom here. You see, there's not a lot of divergence or anything like that, but you just see the RSI down here giving you a little one. But at this point, this was December, so we can see that base out, and we get above the 200. What do we do when we get above the 200? Well, we can turn into a little swing trader, buy a position here, or buy a position right here, play the upside, right? Buy a position right here, play the upside. So USO looking pretty good. I know that we're getting some rotation into the energy type stuff. And see, this is why you don't want to follow those sell signals. I just use them for fun. You don't want to follow these sell signals too often. You want to make sure, because it'll tell you to sell here. But if you just look, you're like, is there really that much room to the downside? There can be, right? But sell signal, and then I'm saying to buy it like today. So boom, look at that. Oh, but buy signal. See, like when they make sense, you're already going to know, like, I'm taking the trade, right? So like this one here, yeah, it made a little sense, but you don't have divergence, anything like that. We haven't gotten confirmation. We don't have a wedge, so this would be a little risky to get into. Now we found 15-minute divergences that said get in, then get out, right? So 15 minutes, you want to get in, get out. See that ripped away. Now we have that hourly divergence down here. If that confirms, we can see some upside. So now that I have some structure, I can take a play. See, Marina's got your back. I like anime. Get that positivity. I highly encourage you. Go into your bathroom, take a little high five in the mirror to yourself. Be like, you did good, sir. Gabo, salutations. You missed out on some baby cries this morning. Come on. You're supposed to be here for the big moments for my daughter. Oh, God. I'm a pain. All right, so NVIDIA hitting up towards 903, looking like it might want to cross. It looks like it might cross right before Jerome Powell talks. We can see some price fluctuation. Volatility is still up towards 14, right? Not down towards 13, so we can be a little bit careful. But things are looking pretty good. We've been trying to call out this big bounce in Apple for quite some time since these divergences down here. Now it's starting to come to fruition. I'm in time for the TikTok jokes yet? Oh, you missed them. You missed them. Asian index dropped last night due to the Taiwan earthquake. You never know what has happened. Trade like water flow, hot or cold. True. Very, very good. That's true. Something bad could happen at any moment, and I'm really leaning towards watch out for a cyber attack or a banking crisis. You're going to tell me that Obama makes a movie about cyber attacks, and we're not supposed to believe that that's exactly what's probably going to happen soon. Like, come on. After they test our phones and send out that frequency thing, that's probably conspiracy stuff there, but be open to it. Cyber attack would, like, make a civil war happen. When you do bad, give yourself a middle finger in the market. I'll look at Intel real quick. When you do bad, no, when you do bad, get a pen, get some paper, write down exactly why it went bad, write down the things that you did that were bad, and then be like, write down, I'm not going to do those things anymore. I did not wait for structure. He talks in about 45 minutes. I did not wait for the setup. I got in before confirmation. I didn't take profit when I had profit. When I made enough money, I tried to go too far. Little things like that. That's what you do when you fail. When you fail, you try to learn from it. You don't sit there and be like, because you're the one that's still trading. You got to be your best friend and be like, I'm your number one fan. You got to be your own number one fan. Real quick, what was it? Oh yeah, that's it. Okay. Intel's been pretty interesting. So I like looking at that. Oh God. What's this one? Did we say the head and shoulders here? Let me look at the daily. Oh, you see, the thing is, you had divergence here. There's your good move. Yeah, you have the divergence here. Very, very strong. You actually still might have a divergence here after this, right? You still might have it. So the problem with this here is you went positive and then you rolled back negative immediately, right? So, once you start to drop like this, you might be like, okay, maybe this is not going to go positive, right? So you want to go into shorter time frames and find those divergences and things like that that can tell you, hey, you might want to get out of a trade. Where should you have been out of this trade in the past? Well, I would say right here. Look at this steep divergence. So right here on Intel, I know this was the beginning of March, but it's a good little lesson here. Look at this. You should not be taking anything to the upside once this bar right here prints, this 44, right? It printed right at the low of 44 here. Sure, you get a bounce, but look at that. Negative territory, negative territory, negative. Now you could get a divergence again here, but as of right now, it doesn't look pretty. So now this is a 2 hour, by the way, not a 30-minute. And yeah, then it gets some bad news and it happens out of nowhere and now it's heading down. So same thing could be said here on the daily, right? We cross up, we go positive for a moment here, but it's not able to, actually it doesn't go positive. We're not able to go to positive territory. So that confirmed that no positivity there, no positive territory. It's possible. NVIDIA can do a lot of things, guys. I would say the potential downside I would look for is 855, the 855 to 840 area. The upside, I think we might test this high up here around 950. I'll say 955 to 965 is where I think we test. Yeah, I'm a firm believer in turning things as positive as you can now, especially when you're trading because it's very taxing emotionally. It can be. So you want to be like, let me utilize my anger and turn it into learning fuel. That's how I would say it. I'm angry right now. That's a lot of energy I have built up. Let me put that towards something good. Take a course. Write down what you did wrong. Write down what you're going to do right. Maybe make a new step-by-step process before you take a trade. Say, is this cross? Check. Is this good? Check. Is the price good? Check. Buy. Zimbabwe's? Nah, I have ons. I like the smaller one. Oh, but I don't know if I should talk about that, but at one of my jobs, I had this. Feeling bearish on the next few days. Actually, I think this looks bullish right now. I think it looks bullish. It's just you have mixed signals, okay? You have things like NVIDIA that look like they want to cross up on this 2 hour and go nuts. You have things like Apple that look like it wants to cross up on the 2 hour, confirm the hourly divergence. Looks like it wants to go nuts, right? You have AMD looking like it's about to cross up, go positive territory. Look like it wants to go nuts. You have the SPY and the Qs look like they want to go nuts. And then you see things like this. Okay, now we have Meta outside of its weekly expected move. Not looking good. Then we have Google outside of its weekly expected move, confirming 2 hour divergence down, not looking good. But that could mean we just get a brief move up over the next day or two, and then that gets ripped away. Shut up. Did she really get calls for Palo Alto? Let's look at Palo Alto. No, not yet. Not yet. Oh, actually, you might get lower high off the 200. See, this would have been a great little setup. Yeah, you might get a reaction here. This would have been a great setup if it like tested this low again. You could see like a huge, almost double bottom. Good piece of structure here. Big move up. That would have been solid, but did touch the zone. Maybe we get off the 200. You're still above the 200, so if this closes above the 5 or closes above the 20, you can swing trade that up. It's just, do I think this is going to last very long? I don't know if it will. Yeah, I see there are a lot of puts out there. I think overall the sentiment in the options market is starting to shift down, right? Saying there's more potential for downside than upside, which is pretty correct, which would lead me to believe two things. Either we're going to see this turn around and the selling pressure is going to really pile on, or we're going to get a hit fire move up that convinces a lot of people to get out of their short position, and then we see it rip down. So that's what I would pay attention to. I mean, that's just, but I'm open to both scenarios. That's why we're paying attention to like the Qs rolling up, going positive. We're going to pay attention to Jerome Powell, all that good stuff. Everything thinking Powell can't help the market anymore today with his comments. What do you think? I think it's still possible for him to send it up just because of this. So if he affects this, if he affects this in any way and gets that to pull down with some people saying, oh, now he's giving us multiple rate cuts, maybe he says that. If this can pull down in any way, that might be good news for the overall market. That might be good news for the Qs able to hold higher. That might be good for NVIDIA, all those types. Because if those drop off, like we said, the growth companies need those rates to stay lower. 30 in a few days, everything is just skittish due to JP. Apple pushing again. Apple up 1.08, solid move. See if that's able to cross positive territory. Apple's telling you we're going to bounce here. Apple's telling you that. Apple's saying we already bounced. We're going to bounce some more. Gambling isn't a problem if you're good on it. The only reason that trading the stock market isn't gambling, you're still using probabilities, but you can use probabilities gambling. The reason it's not is because we risk manage. You can't risk manage. Well, you can't risk manage when you put the money out there for a bet at like the casino. It's gone if you lose, right? But this one, we can manage our risk. We can have stops in place. That's how you can actually become good. The king is back. You're only at 902. Once you start to get around 910, 915, we can talk. But right now, it looks good. I might take a play on it if I see some confirmation. I just have my play on Apple right now. Yep, John, we'll be watching Jerome Powell here. We're going to put a little, screen up in the bottom here. So give me a sec, guys. I'm going to go use the restroom and get a cup of coffee before Jerome Powell starts. So do me a favor, make sure to like and subscribe, all right? Make sure we're liking this video so more people can come out and watch Jerome Powell with us. He will be starting in about 35 minutes. Maybe after Powell, we can see what's going to happen in the overall stock market. If you want to get those weekly ranges before Jerome Powell talks, go down in the description. We got Patreon open for you guys, $7 a month. Very, very good deal there. So I'll be back in 2 minutes here. Let's put it on NVIDIA for a moment, see if that's able to cross into positive territory, and we can get updates from you guys on Apple. Be right back. Sorry, guys. Found a little puke by the doggo. It was Bruce's birthday on Monday. I think he got excited. He ate a whole rope toy. Yeah, that's right. Bruce eats whole rope toys and then he throws up. And it comes out as one solid chunk. I was like, oh, someone pooed in the house. Nope, just Bruce getting excited. He's a good boy. They don't do stuff in the house like ever. God. Smash the thumbs up. Let's go through these. The video won't cross till pow pow. Pow! And that guy that goes pow. I don't know his name. I can't remember his name. He's a Jayhawks fan. Don't talk about basketball season, okay? Don't talk about it. JP is going to be bullish today. I think it looks like a setup for some bullishness. The only reason I'm a little worried is because like some stuff's out of its range. But maybe Meta just goes ballistic here. You know, it's definitely possible still. Apple's saying we want to go higher. Nvidia's saying it wants to go higher, right? I just burped. I sounded like my baby girl. AMD. God dang it. Looking like it wants to go higher. BTC taking a dump. Let's go look at that real quick. Now remember, we like our 4-hour charts for this. You can still see a rebound here, but this looks pretty flaggy, right? Look how flaggy that looks. Whoop. Whoop. And then we can continue this selling pattern down, right? So this builds up over here. Maybe we get a little more selling. Maybe we want to test these lows before heading higher. This was a great trade for Bitcoin up here. Great trade. I should have updated on that. I just don't watch Bitcoin as closely. If I watched Bitcoin closely, I would have no time at all to myself. Now I gotta ask DJT. All right, we're doing it, guys. We're doing it. Daily wise, still above the 20. Not the worst sign in the world. 2-hour gave you. Wait, was it? Daily divergence was up here, right? Daily divergence. So if you do cross down, it means you're probably going to maybe head towards this low here, $32, if not going to test the 200. So not looking too good from this perspective, but you can see the 2 hours still positive here. If we get a positive reaction, we can see, you know, this curl up, positive territory. What happens? Well, sometimes we go and test the highs. I would say the closing highs up here. So this closing high right there would be maybe where we see some resistance come in. Maybe we want to do something like this before we see a big move. We'll have to pay attention. And we've been really just spreading out. You want this to start to get tighter and tighter, and then you see that break to the upside with some structure, right? That's what you want to see. Not seeing that as of right now. No real trade setups for this unless you want to swing trade on the 2 hour. Bitcoin can be. Sometimes Bitcoin moves before the overall market, right? So the fact that we're seeing this big bounce, we could almost compare that maybe to the SPY or something like that. So these are both daily charts. You can look at when this pullback happened. Well, it was right around the time that we got a pullback right over here. So then we bounce higher. Now it's kind of following the market at this point. It's not making a move before. You see dramatic drop down. Now we're kind of getting some positivity. But you're at the 50. The 50's held up pretty well, right? We react off this area. We react off this area here. So the 50 can hold up from here. We'll just have to see. You want to see if this is broken, if we get that crossing up of the MACD. We rejected, so that's not a good sign, right? We talked about it rejecting on the MACD here. You need that to curl up to see another positive move get towards 80,000. Sometimes it reacts before. Crypto Riddler, hey, thank you for subbing. Or are you telling people to sub? That's good. And what I could do is I could add those little, you just reminded me, Crypto Riddler. I used to have those commands where people would type like sub exclamation, and it would tell you the sub count or something like that. Which maybe we'll put up a sub goal or something like that, but it would also say like course exclamation, and then you could get the course. It could be Patreon exclamation, you get the Patreon, right? That's pretty cool. Yeah, I have calls right now on Apple. I just read that someone was asking about some potential calls, right? Apple looks pretty good, but it's still going to be a little careful moving forward. There it is, Crypto Riddler. We see you coming in hot with the sub. Heading up on Apple here, getting a little laggy as of right now. I want to see that. Might have to exit out of some stuff over here. Got a bunch of stuff up. So let's see. I'm looking at Paracosm's little trade here. Today's return 20%, 20 almost 21%. Very, very good. Let's see. Currently fixed. Average cost in at 71. That's pretty good. Great job. Great trade there, Paracosm. We'll have to make a Discord soon. Once my wife once the baby chills out and we can monitor it a little bit better. She was my moderator for my old stream back in the day, so Apple up 25%, TLT I'm up 28% right now. Nvidia, I did just take a small call on Nvidia. We'll see what happens with that. That'll be my fun play for the day. I like to make my fun plays the plays that can make a lot of money. So I was like, screw it, let's do this. 2-hour crossing as of right now. We have to see if that holds through Jerome Powell. We got about 20 minutes left until Jay Pizzle for shizzle. But thank you guys for being here. Thank you for smashing that like button. You guys are great. Went with a smoothie instead of coffee. I feel like I drink too much coffee these days, so I'm going to drink a smoothie. Get some fruits in me, you know? Good thing to do in the morning. Get that fruit in you. Some sugar for the day. All right. Red Chair Jay Dizzle give his wise words, Laws. He gives it in about 20 minutes. Coffee is life. Yeah, that's what it seems like. When you have a baby, when you're first time dad, yeah, coffee's definitely like, what play do you have on Apple? Okay, Saeed, hopefully you saw that. I have KHC expiring on May 17th. 2 out of the past 3 years. It pushed 44 by mid-May. That occur occasionally before he speaks. It does. They set up, but a lot of the time before Jerome Powell speaks, you'll see the setups that will say, hey, Apple is highly probable to pop up. The only problem with today is we're seeing this be like, yes, Apple is probable to pop up, but Meta is probable to drop down, right? Meta is probable to drop down. Google is probable to drop down from this area, but Microsoft probable to pop up at this point, right? Positive territory. Microsoft looking like a good one, right? This looks pretty good. We can see an upward move here. Positive territory. That's why this one looks more promising even than Apple. Apple down in towards a negative territory, right? Down in negative, not positive yet. So it looks like, you know, Microsoft might be the better swing trade at this point. As someone who identifies as a diabetic, coffee run it is, Laws. Get it going, mofo. Now I want some watermelon. Dude, I do strawberry banana all the time. We love to go to Smoothie King, but Smoothie King now is like $12 or something for what I normally get. And nah, we'll just buy the good stuff from the grocery store. Nvidia's annoying throwing those stop losses. Yeah, that's why I would just say every single bar I see, I would just up my stop loss from this point on. I think if you're going to see that positivity, it's probably really going to come in. Ninja makes nice smoothies. We don't really make them at home. We don't have time to, but I do have a good smoothie brand that I like. We get it from the Kroger store here. It's called something different here, called Dylan's, but it is a Kroger store. AMD, this thing just needs to go positive. This thing has been so bottled up, guys, and really I feel like I should redraw some stuff here. I feel like this doesn't have a lot of weight to it anymore. But if you really wanted to talk about a big, like a thick cup and handle, maybe that breaks to the upside. So see if that wants to close this gap. That's where I'd say the potential move is too. Tesla curling up, right? Curling up, but still looking a little flaggy here, so pay attention to that. Amazon hitting highs as well, giving you another point of divergence maybe. So that's what I'm saying. You kind of have like some stocks that say we go higher, some stocks that say lower. The Qs at this point overall look like they want to cross up on the MACD. So if they cross up on the MACD, you're going to see that positivity come in. We could get some kind of crazy move here. That's the only reason I'm like, the fact that we could see a crazy move. I'm Central Time, by the way, and I'm in Kansas. I'm a Kansas boy, born and raised. Born and raised. I'm a Jayhawks fan. Sorry about that, but I went to KU for a little bit. Then I quit to play college soccer. Yeah, once you go a little bit more up north, man, I do not like the cold. I do not like the cold. Now, you could say for the entire day, this is all we expect, and we're already hitting there right before he talks. So the actual probabilities here are leaning towards this staying in this area. So if we get outside of this, you know, that could be ripped away pretty quick. So pay attention. Just if you see good moves up, like very good moves up, maybe even going all the way up to here today, just make sure we're taking profit. Make sure we're looking for setups to the downside because this could be a fake out. But the Dow might want to curl up, fill this gap. I'm saying we most likely will see positivity here. But I think this could be ripped away over the next few days. Like we could top out. Which the SPY still looks very like it's at a top, right? The Qs look like they could roll up in positive territory. This looks like it could just, the SPY could come touch this point up in here. And then we see that ripped away. So pay attention if we do see this come up. Now, if you do come up to this area and we see some positive stuff like this, what if we do this before CPI and then we launch upward? So we're going to have to pay attention to that next rock after this week being CPI on the 10th. I'll have to share to get the market. He has to talk about rate cuts. That's all people are paying attention to. Anytime he talks about rate cuts, we'll be paying attention to that. Apple 5-minute red bar. I'm not worried about any 5-minute red bars, honestly, on Apple. All I have to do is sit here and watch the 2-hour now, chill for a little bit. Yeah, I'm not seeing anything negative here. If anything, you could look at the 30 minutes, see if this rolls over, goes negative, then you could say it could go lower. But as of right now, breaking out to the upside, if you consolidate here, it's not a bad thing. That 2-hour rolled up, so we can be a little comfortable here. Now we just want to see it go positive, then we can be more comfortable. But like I told you, I think this point here, this 173 area, is going to be a good area for us to base out. So maybe that on the SPY is what makes sense to go higher. Maybe we see a reaction up, reaction down, reaction up before CPI, and CPI is actually good news. Wouldn't that fake everyone out? Right now, everyone's expecting CPI to be bad. Question. I remember you speaking about your time making marketing apparel during the ride home the other day. Long story, less long. Did you make all the different hats you wear? No. I did make hats that said just one drink in quotes. So that was kind of the theme of my whole channel. Was it was just like shirts that said just one drink in quotes, and it was funny because it's like whenever you go out and you're going out to party or something, your friend, or you don't want to go, or your friend doesn't want to go, and you say to them, oh, come on, just for one drink. Just one drink. And then it ends up being, you know, a show. 1 to 5 years, I think Tesla, if we want to look at like a weekly scale, we can do like a weekly scale maybe. I would say, actually, let's look at a monthly. Since you said 1 to 5 years, we can look at a monthly. So the monthly going negative here, I believe that we most likely test like, where's the COVID lows? So this area again. I think we at least test this area again, and then we maybe see one more push in this overall move. So that's what I would pay attention to here. But really, if Tesla wanted to, say, crash, if we experience a crash, Tesla could go all the way down to like $22. It really could. You look at the lows back in 2020. Oh, sorry, this was September 2020. So actually, I think that we could see this come all the way down to $27. So all this would mean is maybe I get some kind of ABC move, right? A, we got the B, now we get the C. Where does that land us? Well, this says -5, so no, I don't think it's going to go out of business, right? I think we're just going to head down towards maybe the COVID lows. This pump is money coming into the system, right? People got obsessed with Tesla. Okay, people got obsessed with Tesla. Easy money. They all got those stimmy checks, and they all put it into Tesla. Musi Saeed? Silver looks good right now. Thank you so much for the $2.99 super chat, Mr. Saeed. I don't know how to say your Musa. Musa? I wish I could say it right. My dad works with a lot of people with names like that, so usually I'm pretty good at it. Let's see, Robert. Hey, Lucas, could you take a quick look at Lulu to the upside? It had some insider purchases over the last few days, and we can look at insider stuff. Maybe this weekend we'll go through some insiders, what they're buying, what they're selling. Let's put this on NVIDIA for a quick moment so we can flip right back to it. Lulu. All right, things are being a little bit slow. Lulu here dropping off pretty dramatically. This is just very, very big selling here. You're below the 200. You're very oversold. So you can see a reaction. I would just look for rejection at that 200. So once you get to this level, you can just be like, okay, I can look at the 2 hour. The 2 hour, even though it's heading down, it's curling up, right? It's going to curl up, maybe get towards that center line and then see that come back down. So 30 minute, if you want to look for maybe where it gets a bounce. Well, you have that divergence right now. You have the potential, as we are flagging, for that to head lower and get another divergence down here, giving you a triple divergence, maybe right by positive territory. So I would wait for this to confirm. Maybe you need a little bit closer. Look for like an hourly. You see the divergence pretty steep here. Not necessarily on the RSI though. So this might be catching a falling knife, to be totally honest. It could just be compiling like this. You get a small pop and that drops again. Be careful with Lulu. That's dropping below the 200 very dramatically. You don't want to catch a falling knife or something. Q is able to turn on the hourly. SPY able to turn on the hourly. So we have potential for some upside here. We got about 13 minutes. I'd really look for that 2 hour to cross. Lulu was my short of the week. Well, hopefully that played out really good for you. How do you come up with your daily, weekly, monthly levels? It's a simple calculation. You can look it up. It's just I know that it took me a while to get it completely right. And then if you guys didn't know, I was a nerd this weekend and built a whole Excel spreadsheet for all the stocks that we cover. So now I just have to plug in the values and it does the calculation for me. And I'm very excited about that. It took me a few hours to fully create from scratch. So not a huge shell, but JPM's not having a good day given how SPY is up. And yeah, I think you're not going to see some good stuff from banks if these rates keep remaining higher. So JP Morgan, one thing to note here, guess what? 2 hour divergence. Okay, what does the 2 hour divergences like to do? You got a good one right here. That is a good divergence. Okay, so what's going to happen here? The daily's most likely going to cross. What happened today? The daily cross. What do you have on the daily? You have a bunch of divergences in the near RSI. You have a divergence on the MACD and RSI across the way here. So JP Morgan is telling you I am dying out momentum-wise. Maybe I want to make one more move up, but once I start to lose this 20, we can head down to the 50 really quick. I would say a level of 186.22 is something to pay attention to in the month of April. By the end of the month, we could be down towards that 186.22. And if you like it, yeah, and that's a good point there, Marina. If you like something for the long term, if you've done your due diligence, if you've been researching, more than what I've said with the technicals, I would say, that's probably a better take, right? If you're saying, hey, I've looked at the company, it looks profitable, it looks good, then and this is a support level for you or something, you want those multiple reasons. But as of right now, as far as trading it, I don't think it looks very good. So Tesla, 1 to 5 years, I think we go, by the way, just to finish that thought, I think we head down. I don't know if we go all the way down to 22. I think we could pump a little bit higher and maybe the more dramatic crash is a little bit in the future. But you'd have to say if that dramatic crash comes, you can buy it for almost $25 or something. That's pretty damn good. And I think for the long term, Tesla will be profitable eventually. It's just really not. It's really hard to be a profitable car company. Plus, I think you might see a kickback on all this electric vehicle crap. I personally will not be getting an electric vehicle. Especially if they tell me I have to, I will not be getting an electric vehicle. Because remember, we talked about, cyber attacks and things like that can happen. Well, now your car's under it. You can't even use your car. I know a gas car would do a lot better. Hybrid's not bad. I actually do like hybrids. I like a lot of Toyota hybrid stuff. RAV4s. I think RAV4s are great cars. I really like the 4Runners, right? That's what I've always wanted. I just really like 4Runners. But I don't know if I'll get that. I'd maybe get something like a RAV4 first and then buy a 4Runner for fun. But yeah, but the thing about so you'd want to see if your systems run off electricity as well for the computer. But the point is, your car, for the most part, you want to see what's run off of electric. I know like there's electric power steering and things like that as well, which has really, interestingly enough, affected me a little bit in the last month or so. My power steering started to go out, and I had to go in to the hood of my car and reattach a bunch of stuff a little bit tighter, and then everything fixed. And I was like, really, that's it? It took me like a week to figure out, like, oh, I just need to screw down the battery and screw down the battery connect, like the thing that connects the electricity or whatever. It was like wobbly because we traveled to get back to Kansas, right? So I just had to seal that up. But I literally have this here right on my desk. I bought power steering fluid because online it told me to buy this power steering fluid for my car. I don't know a lot about cars if you didn't notice already. But I bought this power steering fluid, and then I didn't have anywhere to put it in my car, and then I looked it up and I was like, why would it tell me to buy this? I have electric power steering. So, but you never know when a buddy's going to need power steering fluid or something, so I just kept it. I love not visiting the gas station. I love charging overnight. Hey, that's awesome, and that works for you. I'm just saying the just in case side of me wants to keep a gas car. Yeah, that would be cool, Laws. EVs are hard to put out. Sorry, I can't see that message fully, John Hill, but I was just saying EVs, if we actually switch to all EVs like they want us to, our country would go under. It would literally go under. The infrastructure alone can't support it. We'd have to rebuild every bridge. We'd have to, somehow find like an insane amount of power on the power grid. Like, it just would be bad. An economic outlook at Stanford Business School. So he's talking at Stanford Business School. So that would tell me I think he's going to be bullish. Or he's just going to give us a nothing burger and this will continue. I bought a Tesla and I honestly so proud of my purchase. The tech is amazing. Lots of misconceptions about it. Oh, I'm not against Tesla by any means. I actually think the cars are great. I really do. I think the cars are fantastic. I'm just not going to get a fully electric vehicle because I think that we're experiencing crime going up like crazy. Now imagine we have a huge amount of job losses. We have immigration that's going nuts right now. We just have recipes for a lot of disaster. So I'm not saying like it's bad by any means. I'm just saying from a risk of something bad happening perspective, a gas car would maybe be a little better. What's your take on the Royals downtown stadium vote? I actually didn't see that. I'm not a big baseball fan. I think baseball is one of the most boring sports, but I love going to the games. I love going to the games in Kansas City. It is awesome. You go, they have different bars and things like that. It's a lot of fun when you go to the game, but I don't necessarily like follow it to a T. Okay, 2 hours up, took my profit. Hey, that's fine. Trade like water. Yeah, and you kind of want to see, like, this is an electric vehicle boom as well, and car companies have, like, you know, I think it's like 90% of car companies fail or something like that. I think it might be more than that. So you'd have to say, out of these electric car companies, what's gonna stick around? Probably Tesla. Probably is gonna be Tesla. I bet the other ones slightly go away, and then we get stuck with the EVs at Ford and Toyota, Hyundai. I know Kia is doing pretty well with the electric vehicle sales. So you just like the drinking. Yeah. Yeah, I do. Drinking and hanging with friends, and we'll watch some baseball. It's fun when you're there. But to like sit and watch it on TV and think of like research into what's happening with the team, the votes on the stadium, all that stuff, I'm like, eh. Now, I would read that kind of stuff from a business perspective. That would be fun for me. VIX slowed down. Let's give a peek at the VIX. What's it telling us before this news? All right. Actually, VIX telling you on the 2 hour it wants to cross down, so positivity could come. The only thing you don't want to see is this 30-minute roll back up. This is actually a good sign, right? You have a high. All right, we have a high, right? We have a low. We have a lower high. We have a lower low at this point. So if we do get a reaction up, right, just look for that to roll back down. Look for that to go negative. I'd really be paying attention to the 2 hour rolling down negative territory, right? See if that's fully able to go negative. I think a good shot here is we see a big reaction down, and then that scoops back up. We see a triple bottom here. That would be very, very interesting. And then we just see that skyrocket going on into next week. But this can take time to play out. We could get a pop up. We go this way. We go this way. Then we go this way. Then we get that reaction. So we could look for a 30-minute divergence if we start to go negative. But HYG bouncing, TLT bouncing. So if there's going to be some positivity here, you'd really want these yields to back off. And that looks like what's happening as of right now. So until something changes, it's still positive. We got about 2 minutes until that speech. Let's just leave it on the Qs here. We have the other stocks up on the right. I'm going to get the speech up on the TV. I'm going to get the speech up for now on the stream for you guys. Here we go. We got it up there, so it'll be playing in a moment. My husband's a diesel guy. Nobody is taking his truck, but the future is nuclear power, uranium. That's actually very cool. That would be very interesting. The thing is, I think even Elon's a kind of a person who says like nuclear is a good power source. 2 minutes till J-Pow. It's at 12:10. Yeah, we got a little time here. That's right. We got about 11 minutes still. Yeah, he's going to be very encouraging. The last thing he wants to do is go to a university and tell them that the economy's hell and they're not going to find jobs and all this stuff. He's actually going to say the labor market remains strong, right? He's going to say that over and over. So that's something to pay attention to. But we just have to see the reaction. Oh, dude, I love it. I loved hearing that, Laws. It was so funny. That's what I'm saying. I hope we hear another moment where he's just like goes nuts again. Come on, Jay Pizzle. Oh, god dang it. So we'll just leave it on the Qs. We have NVIDIA up on the left, looking like it's pretty much even right now. It's hitting at 894. We have Meta at 505. Could break to the upside. AMD at 180.23. Some selling coming in right before he talks. That's very normal, guys. Nuclear is super environmentally friendly until it blows up. Well, has it? How many times has it blown up in history? I think we have the technology now to maintain it. But it does make like targets, right? It makes targets on countries' backs. So you probably don't want to let Russia and China and all these big places, you probably don't want them to know where your nuclear power plants are. When do you trade? I've never seen you place trades during live videos. I do it on my other screen. And then I trade after I hop off, and I look at posting some stuff to Patreon and things like that, and help my little girl and help my wife. So there's a lot that goes on through my day. That's why yesterday I accidentally I just like laid down for a second, closed my eyes, and I just fell asleep. That's how tired I am these days. So I really do just show up and try to put my full effort into this, but it is tiring when you have a baby girl, especially when she got 4 shots yesterday, guys. 4 shots. My goodness, she was not happy. She was very uncomfortable. But she was able to sleep a little last night. That's good. I couldn't sleep last night, so I was up till like 3 a.m. So that sucks. If you know what I'm saying, like I napped for an hour, so then I couldn't sleep at night. That's awful. But that's why I just got behind on a lot of things. Puts right now, it makes sense. I mean, it still makes sense around this area, right towards the upper side of the daily expected move. I would say that calls are the most likely juicier option here. As the SPY tested the bottom of the weekly, now you can use that as some good support to head up. We don't have flagging or anything like that. So it's just something to pay attention to. Maybe we'll look at shorter time frames while he talks, right? See if the 15-minute curls down and then curls back up. Goes positive, gives us a divergence out here. Maybe that leads to a sell-off. But the Qs are really what we're going to want to be watching most of the time here. Oh, yeah, we did like all of them in one shot. 201 people in here. We hit 200. Give yourself a round of applause. Thank you for liking and subscribing, guys. Let's watch some Jay Pizzle for a little bit here. We got about 7 minutes, actually, until he's live there. GE, we haven't really looked at. I can take a look at it real quick. My stuff's just being a little slow. I'm running a bunch of stuff here. Now, aerospace. Anyway, if this is the ticker that you're looking at here, just want to show down here, we can see that positive move. Maybe you create a small divergence here. You got a ton of divergence across the RSI here. You could get that pop up. Usually you want it on the MACD and RSI at the same time. So reacting off the 20, solid move there. Now we can go up just a little bit more, maybe for a couple of days, and see that start to fade. So pay attention to any divergences here. But it would be a good point. It would be a good option to look at. That's how I would phrase it. It'd be a good one to look at for a potential hedge at this point. This is still very bullish. So for the most part, you just want to hedge. But we could see a way down, right? We could see some kind of sudden crash. So your hedge might end up just making you a bunch of money. That would be perfectly fine. But as of right now, we haven't even lost the 20-day moving average on the Qs or, well, on the SPY. The Qs are holding up exactly where they normally do, right in between the 20 and the 50. So I'm not necessarily worried at this point. I haven't seen any kind of crash indication just yet. Thank you, HQ fam. Appreciate it. Oh, and someone asked what I'm drinking. It's a strawberry banana smoothie. I was ready to fight the nurses. Yeah, Danny was very, very sad, apparently. Her and my mom were hanging out afterwards. And She was very sad. They both were very sad because she's just in pain, and she's just this cute little, 9-pound girl. So it's hard to watch her in pain. I really hope he gives us some clarity on rate cuts this year. And I think that's how we could maybe head upward, is if he starts talking about rate cuts, or just saying that we're in control of inflation, job security, all this type of stuff. Most likely he's going to talk about jobs. Most likely he's going to talk about jobs in the university setting. I highly doubt he comes out hawkish in a speech at a university. You never know, though. He could accidentally slip up. He could do something like that. Ooh-wee. My goodness, what a stretch. So we'll watch the cues here during. We'll see what's happening with that. We got about 4 minutes left. 4 minutes. Who's pumped? Is anyone jacked up right now? Top TA for sure. No BS. That's right, Crypto Riddler. We're just giving you those expected moves, showing you the trade setups. Trying to keep it simple. Let's keep stocks a little bit simple. He's gone to a university to reveal the new definition of inflation. No longer transitory. It's transitional. No. I'm jacked. Jacked to the tits. He's a well-oiled machine. He ain't slipping. Yeah, the oil's in the right place. It's in all his gears and all his elbows, and he's like the Tin Man, He's all oiled up. Searching for a heart. Hey, he might be the Scarecrow, the Straw Man, the Scarecrow, and the Tin Man put together, searching for a heart and a brain. Transformationally transitory inflation. It's an ebb and flow transitory inflation. Now, do you remember on this 15-minute, we never really curled down. We rejected that curl down, so this is a good sign that we could hold up a little higher. Maybe this is just going to be some kind of handle to head higher. But if we curl down and go negative, you start to say, oh, we could stair step down. We still see cuts later this year, with the first one being around October. He is lubed in the right spot because that is basically what he's doing to us all. Yeah, I think, like I said, I just don't think he wants to be the reason we crash. He's not going to come out and be hawkish and actually take care of the problem. I think he knows something's already breaking or broken, and he's like, well, now I just got to keep my job. Yeah, and I think we have potential here to get some kind of correction, go even further up, actually, until Trump is president. I think if they really wanted to, right, Biden's been going around saying the stock market's at all-time highs all the time. Like, that's a good indication of what the economy's doing, how we live day to day. He's an idiot. So I think when Trump gets in, maybe they actually let the rug be pulled. But if something breaks before then that can be the reason. Effective today, I've raised rates another point. Holy shit, do you know what would happen in this market if that happened? Sorry for cursing, but my god, if that happened, that would be so horrible. Oh my god, that would just be awful. People would literally need diapers like my baby girl because they would poop themselves. Just kidding. Yeah, just kidding. He says we're going to raise rates by a full percent, by a full point, and then the market just goes up.
He has guided the Fed with a sure hand through a global pandemic, supply disruptions, an incredibly dramatic fiscal expansion.
Michael Burry, good point.
A lot of asset market
Norman, thank you for subscribing to the channel. Appreciate you being here, bud.
Of magnitude in many years. And somehow we've emerged with the U.S. economy continuing to create jobs and be the envy of the world. And that range of experience, as well
Create
as Chairman
government
Powell's
jobs and
responsible
illegal
leadership,
jobs,
make
yeah.
him a perfect first speaker for our event. He is going to share some opening remarks, and then he's going to be joined on stage by Arvind Krishnamurthy. Arvind is the John Osterweiss Professor of Finance at the GSB, and he is himself an expert.
Can you guys hear okay?
asset
Just give me a
markets,
yeah, it
financial
sounds good
intermediation,
in
and
chat. Someone
monetary
give me some
policy.
sounds
So with
good
that,
in
it's a
chat.
pleasure to welcome Chairman Powell to the stage.
You can have 3 jobs and still not own anything and have to rent for a crazy amount and be happy.
It's great to be here today. Thanks to everyone for coming out. It's a pleasure to be here. So I'm going to begin with some comments on the economy and the road ahead for monetary policy before briefly discussing the Federal Reserve's monetary policy independence and then joining Arvind Krishnamurthy for some discussion. So over the past year, inflation has come down significantly, but it's still running above the FOMC's 2% goal. In February, headline inflation was 2.5% over the past 12 months based on PCE index. A year ago, it was 5.2.
That's the indicator. That's
Core
not the buy and
inflation,
sell
which excludes
when I buy.
the volatile food and energy components, stood at 2.8% in February. A year ago, it was 4.8%. So this is very
Muhammad
welcome
Shihab,
progress,
thank you so
but
much
as you
for
can see,
joining.
the job
Appreciate you.
of sustainably restoring 2% inflation is not yet done. Tight monetary policy continues to weigh on demand, particularly in interest-sensitive spending categories. Nonetheless, growth in economic activity and employment was strong in 2023, as real GDP expanded by more than 3%, and 3 million jobs were created, even as inflation fell substantially. This combination of outcomes reflects significant improvements in supply that offset to some extent the effects on demand of tighter financial conditions. The healing of global supply chains helped address pent-up demand for goods, particularly in sectors that had faced considerable shortages, such as autos. In addition, labor supply increased significantly thanks to rising participation.
Remember to like the channel for
25 to
Jay
54
Pizzle. Hit a like on that like
workers in their
button for me,
prime
all right?
working
Smash
years,
that thumbs up button.
as well as a strong pace of
See what
innovation.
happens today.
Recent readings on both job gains and inflation have come in higher than expected. The economy added in an average of 265,000 jobs per month in the 3 years through February, a faster pace than we have seen since last June. And the higher inflation data over January and February were above the low readings in the second half of last year. But these recent data do not, however, materially change the overall picture, which continues to be one of solid growth, a strong but rebalancing labor market, and inflation moving down toward 2% on a sometimes bumpy path. Labor market rebalancing is evident in many parts of the data, including quits, job openings, surveys of employers and workers, and the continued gradual decline in wage growth. On inflation, it is too soon to say whether the recent readings represent more than just a bump. We do not expect that it will be appropriate to lower our policy rate until we have greater confidence that inflation is moving sustainably down toward 2%. Given the strength of the economy and progress on inflation so far, we have time to let the incoming data guide our decisions on policy. We've held our policy rate at its current level since last July, as shown in the individual projections that the FOMC released just 2 weeks ago. My colleagues and I continue to believe that the policy rate is likely at its peak for this tightening cycle. If the economy evolves broadly as we expect, most FOMC participants see it as likely
fluctuation
to be
might come in
appropriate
the
to begin lowering the
portion
policy
where he's
rate at
talking
some point
back and
this
forth
year.
with the guy.
Of course, that outlook is still quite uncertain, and we face risks on both sides. Reducing rates too soon or too much could result in a reversal of the progress we've seen on inflation and ultimately require even tighter policy to get inflation back to 2%. But easing policy too late or too little could unduly weaken economic activity and employment. As progress on inflation continues and labor market tightness eases, these risks continue to move into better balance. As conditions evolve, monetary policy is well positioned to confront either of these risks. We are making decisions meeting by meeting, and we'll do everything we can to achieve our maximum employment and price stability goals. And that brings me to my second topic. The Fed has been assigned 2 goals for monetary policy: maximum employment and stable prices. Our success in delivering on these goals matters a great deal to all Americans. To support our pursuit of these goals, Congress granted the Fed a substantial degree of independence in our conduct of monetary policy. Fed policymakers serve long terms that are not synchronized with election cycles. Our decisions are not subject to reversal by other parts of the government.
He's like, your gender studies degree is going to be fine. He's going to tell them
this
it's
independence
fine.
both enables and requires us to make our policy decisions without consideration of short-term political matters. Such independence for a federal agency is and should be rare. In the case of the Fed, independence is essential to our ability to serve the public. The record shows that independent central banks deliver better economic outcomes. We recognize that we need to continually earn this grant of independence, and we do so by carrying out our work with technical competence and objectivity in a transparent and accountable manner.
He cuts rates, inflation is going to go insane.
By technical
That's why if he cuts rates, the banking crisis is probably happening.
The most up-to-date information and research to deepen our understanding of the ever-evolving economy and to reliably deliver on our assigned goals. We're supported by a highly capable staff. We also draw on the insights and experiences of a wide array of business, academic, community, and labor leaders, as well as others engaged in the economy. And by objective, I mean that our analysis is free from any personal or political bias in service to the public. We will not always get it right.
We serve the public, but we leave groceries and gas out of our
always
calculation
reflect
for
our
inflation.
painstaking assessment of what is best for our economy in the medium and longer term, and nothing else. Transparency and accountability are fundamental for any government agency in a democracy, but are especially important for one granted policy independence. The Fed has a special obligation to explain ourselves clearly, to describe what we're doing and why we're doing it. We're always striving to improve this communication, and it is a job that is never complete. But we've come a long way. Before 1994, the FOMC did not even announce monetary policy decisions. Today, we announce those decisions, and we explain the thinking behind them in our post-meeting statement and press conference. We publish detailed minutes of our deliberations and a quarterly summary of economic and policy projections of each FOMC participant.
Chale, thank you so much for joining the Patreon.
And the chair appears before
Edwin,
Congress
thank you
to
for
present that
subscribing.
report and to answer any and all questions that are on the minds of our Oversight Committee members. In 2020, we completed a year-long public review of our monetary policy framework, and late this year, we will begin just such another review. My colleagues and I explain our views on the economic outlook and monetary policy in speeches like this one and in visits to communities around the country as part of an extensive outreach in which we seek input from individuals and groups throughout society. Transparency is an affirmative and proactive commitment to the public. Lastly, to maintain the public's trust, we also need to avoid mission creep. Our nation faces many challenges, some of which directly or indirectly involve the economy. Fed policymakers are often pressed to take a position on issues that are arguably relevant to the economy, but are not within our mandate, such as, for example, particular tax and spending policies, immigration policy, and trade policy.
Kind of does sound like
climate change is another current example. Policies to address climate change are the business of elected officials and those agencies that they have charged with this responsibility. The Fed has received no such charge. We do, however, have a narrow role that relates to our responsibilities as a bank supervisor. The public will expect that the institutions that we regulate and supervise
Greg, thanks for subbing, man.
will understand
Appreciate
and be
you.
able to manage
Thanks for
the
being
material
here.
risks that they face.
Smash that
which
like
over
button,
time
guys.
are likely to include climate-related financial risks. We will remain alert to the risk that there will be pressure to expand that role over time, but we are not, nor do we seek to be, climate policymakers. In short, doing our job well requires that we respect the limits of our mandate.
He's like, please, no
stop
climate
there
people
and
come
look forward
out
to our discussion. Thanks.
so I don't have to tell them to shut the f***ing door. He's like, stop climate changing my speeches, please. NVIDIA back to green.
Thank you very much, Chair Powell, for those remarks and for taking some time to be with us and talk to us today. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world today. I think we have a lot of stuff to talk about, so I'm going to get right into it. Before I get started, I just want to also thank you to the audience for sending questions over. What I've done is I've tried to organize the conversation around two themes. One, we'll start by talking about the macroeconomy, and then you have been shared through a very tumultuous period over the last 5 years, and I want to talk about the leadership challenges around that. So let me just dive right into it, pick up on something you started talking about, which is inflation. 2 years ago, we had inflation readings close to 6-7%.
Fab, thanks for joining us. Appreciate you,
Last
Sabin.
Friday, the PCE inflation index, the personal consumption expenditure inflation index, which is something the Fed often speaks about, came in at 2.8%. We've had a conversation about this. There's so many factors that have been play in the economy over the last couple of years. I wonder if you can just spend some time talking to us about what you think are the key factors that have brought inflation down over the last 2 years.
Sure. So I think I'll start with where we think the inflation came from. So what is actually different this time, at the risk of making that statement, is that this inflation wasn't strictly just a question of demand overheating and the Fed coming in and having to suppress demand. That's been the more typical pattern, perhaps on the back of a shock such as oil prices.
He's going to say supply issue, and that's a lie.
This episode actually also involved, as everyone will recall, the collapse of the supply side in a lot of ways. So supply chains stopped working. There were shortages of critical things like semiconductors, which
don't look at the
cars.
Billions of dollars over here we gave everyone
how many
to cause demand to go
into a
nuts.
In addition, there was a major labor force
Supply.
shock. So we lost several million people out of the labor market. So we had a very severe labor shortage. So it was a supply side issue, as well as overheated demand from the closing and then reopening of the economy at a time when rates were low and fiscal policy was very supportive of demand. So we had both of those things. And therefore, if those were the causes, what we needed to see was both the unwinding of the pandemic-related distortions to both the supply and demand in the economy, and also the effects of tight monetary policy. So today, what we think we're seeing as inflation has come down sharply over the last year is those two factors working together. And they do work together. We think that tight monetary policy weighing on demand actually gives the supply side a better chance to recover. And 2023, of course, was a year, as I mentioned, of very significant supply side recovery and expansion.
And
if you guys didn't know, in
what
a
are the
recession,
key factors
usually
you're keeping an eye
supply
on,
is a
say, over the
problem
next, few years?
because they took on too much
Maybe
supply
next year
because
or
of
two,
inflation.
Might play out in the inflation picture.
So recession because of inflation, supply
I should also
issues
mention
come in
inflation
a different
expectations, which
direction.
in our framework and in the thinking of most monetary economists, people think that having the public expect inflation to return to 2% despite it moving up, that's a very important factor in bringing inflation back down.
Yes,
In a sense,
Georgie.
if people believe it, that price setters and wage setters in the economy, if they believe that inflation will be 2%, then that'll actually happen. So as we look ahead, though, one question is how much more juice is there to come out of the supply side recovery? We got a very large increase in population last year, which may have helped with inflation. It certainly helped with output, and it increased the potential output. At the same time, the economy is growing 3.1% last year. Around that, we also had inflation coming down sharply. So there may be more supply side gains to be had. Surveys of businesses still show difficulties in hiring people, difficulties in getting the inputs that they need for their businesses. So there's some more.
Gold hitting a new all-time
We
high
also
tells
think
you that's
that
an inflation
monetary policy is
hedge.
tight. It's weighing on interest-sensitive spending in the economy. So, for example, durable goods, surveys of consumers will say
there's a
that
comments.
it's a tough time to buy durable goods because
you mean
rates
on
are
here?
high. You also
No,
see the
they don't
labor
have
market
it.
rebalancing because you can look at demand in the labor market as well as supply, but you see demand reflected in lower job openings, a very small increase in unemployment, in wages moving back down toward more sustainable levels. So we think those two forces that I mentioned will be the ones we'll be looking for. And the thing we'll be looking at, of course, is the incoming data on inflation as those affect the outlook, and the same thing about the labor market. What's happening in the labor market? Does it suggest that the labor
I'm going to get
market
my
is
old man
continuing
dog water
its
real quick. Be right back.
progress, and it's made substantial progress to get back to a sustainable
I'm still listening, though.
wage growth and balance between supply and demand.
Can I just dig into the inflation expectations point you mentioned? An analogy that people drew a couple of years ago was to the high inflation episode of the 70s, where we had a high inflation period that then ended up shifting expectations, then through the wage price mechanism ended up leading to a sustained period of high inflation. In the current situation, I guess I have two questions. How concerned are you about maybe inflation getting stuck in the upper twos, around 3? Could that last mile be very hard because inflation expectations getting stuck? And then relatedly, are there things you're looking at to tell you, to signal to you that that is an issue or isn't an issue?
Right. So as I mentioned, inflation expectations, we think, are an important part of driving actually inflation. And we want them to be at levels that are consistent with 2% inflation over time. Not 3%, but 2%, not 2.5%. The good news is that that's where they are right now and pretty much have been for some time. And we look at surveys of businesses, households, forecasters. We look at other kinds of measures of inflation expectations, model-based and things like that. We also look at market-based. The market is always buying and selling inflation protection, and you can get from that expectation of or assessment of what markets expect. And all of those are pretty consistently saying that the public does believe, and it's a good thing because it's true, that inflation will go back down to 2%. So that's very assuring, but that's partly because of the very strong action that we took and also because of our ongoing commitment to actually return inflation to 2% over time. So, and that is our commitment, by the way. But over time, so I would say it would be a concern if inflation expectations were not to be consistent with the outcome that we seek. But the good news is they're not, and I think our commitment is understood and respected and believed by the public, and that's as it should be.
Let me flip to the other side of the equation. We've had employment, economic activity that remained quite strong. The unemployment rate it's remained below 4% for the last 2 years. And this is during a period in which you've took the funds rate from 0% to 5.3% in about as fast a rate hike cycle as we've seen in history. A year ago, many people were talking about possibility of recession. That hasn't happened. Again, you made some remarks about this, but I wonder if you can just go a little bit more into this. Why hasn't this happened? Why have we achieved what looks like a soft landing, which is inflation coming down, unemployment remaining low? What are the factors that have played out?
It's dovish.
And then the related question, do we think this will continue to happen?
And thank you, Joseph, for joining the
I guess
Patreon. Really
I've always
appreciate
had
it.
the
Thanks
view
for
and
being a
always
subscriber as well.
Said that because of the unusual origins of this inflation and its differences from other prior episodes, there was a path to getting inflation back down, restoring price stability, getting inflation back down sustainably to 2% without the kind of large job losses and increases in unemployment that have been typical of prior tightening cycles. And the reason, again, was that some part of this was independent of demand. If you have to get all of the inflation reduction gains from suppressing demand, then the chances are that will involve that will weigh on employment and economic activity pretty significantly. But here we had the situation against semiconductors. You couldn't buy a car at the very time when people wanted cars because they were moving to the suburbs, because they didn't want to ride on public transportation because of COVID. At that precise time, the supply of cars went down dramatically because of the shortage. So what happens is the prices went way up. That's how the market clears in our economy. So on the other side of that, though, without respect to demand, once the semiconductor supply comes back, you should come right back down that curve, and you could, in principle, get inflation down significantly without just ignoring demand for a second.
Look for what happens up here. We'll talk about it after he's done, though.
And I would say something like that appears to be happening. Sorry. So then your question is, how did that happen? So more recently, we expected that to happen at the very beginning, and that's why we thought the inflation was transitory, meaning it would go away quickly without much effort from us. That turned out not to be the case. And we thought then that was in 2021. In 2022, we thought the supply side would recover more. It really didn't, and I certainly began to wonder whether that was going to happen. And then it really happened in 2023. Right about the time we were almost ready to give up on supply side recovery, you got this significant increase in labor force participation, accompanied by a significant move up in immigration, and you also got the unwinding of the supply side problem. So what's happening is when that happens, potential output is going up significantly, the economy's productive capacity. So you have a situation where productive capacity is going up even more than actual output. And so the economy actually isn't becoming tighter, which it ordinarily would. It's actually becoming a little looser, and you're seeing inflation come down. Very unusual situation. The pandemic has been, a textbook of unusual, unexpected developments and situations. But that really is the story. And then Arvind, the question is, how much more are we going to get out of the supply side recovery, and how much will fall to demand? And we just don't know the answer to that. We're not going to prematurely assume that there's no more progress to be made on the supply side. Indeed, the evidence is that there probably is more gain to be had there.
You had mentioned immigration has been a big part of the last year or two in terms of the supply side. Can you just expand on that? Is that how important is that relative to supply chain? Where do you see that playing out in the next year or two?
So I need to start by saying that the Fed is not an immigration policymaker, and don't comment on those who do have that assignment or the policies that they make. It's really we're just calling the balls and strikes on the economy as we see them. And so from that standpoint, our economy's been short labor, and probably still is. If you talk to, and we do talk to a lot of business people, it's still difficult to hire for many, many companies. So we've needed more people. But what happened over the course of last year is, to a much greater extent than had been thought, immigration moved up quite a bit over the last 2 years. And this is typically the Census Bureau.
What kind
does
of
all this
immigration,
estimating.
JP?
The Congressional Budget Office
What
actually
kind?
went and took a different path and talked to the people who work at the border and that kind of thing, and got a much higher estimate, which now many groups have gone out to validate. And I would say it's clear there's something there. The numbers are actually higher. And that actually explains what we've been asking ourselves, which is how can the economy have grown over 3% in a year where almost
TLT about to go
every outside
positive.
economist
My
is
option's looking
forecasting
good now.
a recession. An overwhelming majority anyway, we're forecasting a recession for 2023. Not only did that not happen, we had better than 3% growth. So really a remarkable performance. And some part of that is that there are significantly more people working in the country. But then how does inflation come down? It's because the capacity of the economy has actually moved up perhaps more than the actual output. So it's a bigger economy, but not a tighter one. Really an unexpected and unusual thing. Again, we don't make judgment calls, but that's what we're seeing.
So it's interesting in this discussion we've had about inflation and unemployment. We have talked about real factors, immigration, supply chain healing. That's the stuff that seems to have played out. We haven't really talked about interest rates per se, which is, of course, the primary tool of the Federal Reserve. It looks from the outside like the interest rate sensitivity of the economy in this cycle has been
should be a
very
businessman,
muted, very
Jeffrey.
different than in the past. There's also, you look at the economy, they look like there's very differential impacts across different parts of the economy. The housing market, people have long-term fixed-rate mortgages, so interest rate pass-through there is very low. Here in Silicon Valley, we have early-stage growth businesses where the cost of capital is affected by the higher rates. And there it looks like we have a much bigger impact. So I wonder if you can speak about the interest rate sensitivity of the economy in this cycle. And then another question, a related question, which is we have differential impact across the economy. How do you think about balancing the impact of interest rate hikes on different sectors?
So I guess the headline for me would be that I do think monetary policy is working and working broadly as expected. I think you can point to sectors of the economy, and you mentioned a couple. So if you're a household that has a low-interest mortgage, you're not feeling the effect of higher mortgage rates. And many companies as well took the opportunity to term out their debt before rates went up. So you have a lot of companies that have longer-term fixed-rate debt at pretty low rates, and they're not as affected by it. That's all true. At the same time, again, if you look at interest-sensitive spending, either in housing or durable goods, you're seeing very significant effects there. And I do think you see the economy rebalancing. So I think it's not right and maybe too soon to conclude that there's some significant disconnect there in terms of monetary policy transmission. But it still leaves the question of how the economy can have grown over 3% during a year in which the federal funds rate is at a quarter-century high. Why wouldn't growth have been lower? And to me, the answer to that is the supply-side recovery. I think that's what people need to understand, is that you have this force from outside. It's not just interest rates and demand. You've got a supply-side recovery that is creating new demand and new supply. And that's why you get a number like 3.1% at the same time inflation is coming down. One of the reasons why. So I think that's really the story. It's not.
What are the other reasons? Maybe because it's inflation?
Policy isn't restrictive, and it's not that the economy is not responsive to rates. It's that we've had this outside force that is temporarily affecting that.
So if I benchmark Fed policy right now, we have rates at 5.3%. Inflation is running a little bit under 3%. That's like a 2.5% real interest rate. That's really the real cost of borrowing. Compare this to pre-pandemic. We had real rates of close to 0, maybe 0.5%, sometimes negative. So we've gone from a very low rate environment to a very high rate environment. Policy looks tight right now. Another benchmark, I don't know if my colleague John Taylor is here, but the Taylor rule is a typical benchmark we use for thinking about a central bank policy. And by the Taylor rule, policy rates right now should be around 4. So policy does look quite restrictive right now. And I think in talking about where policy is right now, you've said that the risks are balanced. Why continue to have tight policy in an environment in which the risks are balanced?
I
so
wonder.
We do think that policy is restrictive. We think it's doing its job. I would go back to what I said in my remarks to start, which is we think the risks are two-sided. So there's a risk of if you cut too soon, the risk is that the progress on inflation will stop, or that even it will reverse. And we've seen that in some historical, particularly in the 70s. We don't think that's what's happening here at all, but that's a risk that we have to manage. The other risk is that we wait too long or move too slowly. Once we do move, and in that case you have weakening in the labor market and economic output. So we're trying to steer between those two risks. Obviously, we're trying to be in the middle and get the timing right. It's very challenging. There is no risk-free path, but and I think we're in a position to address the economy moving in either of those directions. So the risk, though, of moving too soon really is that the economy really does, the inflation does move up, and then it really would be quite disruptive if we were to have to then come back in. We will do what we have to do to get inflation down to 2%, but again, it's about balancing those risks. It's never the case that you can confidently look at the baseline and say, this is what we're going to do. It's always about having a baseline understanding, but then knowing what the risks are and having the committee be in a position to be able to address those should they materialize. And I think we're very much in that position now.
Maybe I can just follow up on that. So I'm going to ask a question. Is there a signal or a data point that you're paying particular attention to over the next year? And I'm going to ask it this way. So if you had a crystal ball that you knew could perfectly answer one question about the next 12 months, what question would you ask it? What's the thing you really want to know?
Sorry, there's no one thing. It really is. We have a dual mandate. You're asking me to be single-minded about the dual mandate.
No, just a kind of a data point that you think will guide you.
Can't do that. No, I mean, we have to, I would say this. In our framework, the two goals, price stability and maximum employment, are equal under the law. But our framework literally says that if you're very far from achieving one of the goals and the other one is pretty much at goal or even better than goal, then you focus on the one that's far from goal. This is obvious, right? So, and that's what we did after inflation came up in March of 21, and then we really had a very tight focus. And you heard us talking about getting inflation under control. But as inflation has come down, the two things are moving back into balance. And we're not a single mandate bank. The key thing I'll end with, though, is price stability it gives us the ability to achieve both goals. If we don't have price stability, then we're not going to have these long periods of tight labor markets, which benefit everyone. What we saw in the 10-year, 8-month expansion that ended with the pandemic was, for the last 2 or 3 years, the people at the lower end of the income spectrum were getting the largest wage increases. And you saw the gaps between black and white unemployment go to historic lows. So a tight labor market over a long period of time does enormous social good. And that's what we all want to do, is we want to get back to that. For that, you need price stability. But so the two of them actually are quite complementary.
I'm going to shift from just talking about the near term to the thinking about the longer term for the U.S. economy. We've had a pretty big shift in growth expectations for long-run growth. This comes out from the Fed's own projections as well as from economic forecasters' projections. For 15 years ago, long-term growth forecasts were 2.8%, 3%. Pre-pandemic, they've been below 2. That's kind of where they've been for long-term growth forecasts. That's where your own forecasts have been. Why do you think that is? Why long-term growth at 2%? We're sitting in Silicon Valley. AI is all the buzz here. We've had high growth over the last few years. Is 2 a reasonable number? Is it possible we could go back to the 2.83% that we had in the early 2000s?
So let me start by saying that sort of every bit of the economy is difficult to forecast. There isn't one that's more difficult to forecast than productivity, for example, which is one of the key elements of longer-term growth. So it's very, very, very uncertain. I mean, basically, what longer-term growth is a function of growth in hours worked and of output per hour. And hours worked is really a function of demographics and more than anything else. And productivity, output per hour, is highly unpredictable. So I think people lowered their longer-run growth expectations to around, I guess, 1.8% as the median, something below 2%. That's given what had been our very low population growth and expectations that productivity might be 1.5%, 1.5% kind of thing, productivity growth in output per hour. That's a pretty good place to be. We've had higher productivity than that recently, and the question is it going to be a sustained thing? Are we going to enter into a new period of higher productivity? That would be great. It is productivity growth that lifts, all boats.
This is
generation
Alan.
upon generation. And so people argue AI can be that effect. Some people are arguing that there were a lot of business starts at the beginning of the pandemic and during the pandemic, as Americans went out and started businesses at that time, and also that you've seen a lot of change in the labor force. So people moving, quitting, going to better jobs that might be better suited to their skills. But all of those things, they could become a longer run productivity increase or not. Those might just be the things that we need to get 1.5% productivity, and they might. It is unknowable, and particularly with AI, the range of potential outcomes. It should increase productivity. Everyone sees that, but that's not what we're seeing in the numbers now. It's too soon for AI to be affecting, I think, the productivity numbers. But the logic of it is that it could actually, increase productivity, and then the question will be, what does it do to labor? Is it going to replace labor or augment labor or both? And if so, in what proportion? So hard to say about longer run growth, but of course, it would be great if that were the case.
And then just to follow up, we talked about this before. Do you feel like you need to take a stand on this in policy making at current?
No, I mean, so our focus, the things that are really important to the U.S. economy over time are productivity, immigration, even trade policy, the things that we're doing. Industrial policy that is now a thing. Those are important to the longer run growth and economic well-being of Americans. And what we do is we try to move the economy towards stable prices and maximum employment through the business cycle. That's what we can do with business rate with monetary policy. We are also a crisis responder. We're a really important crisis responder. We can get there quickly. We have great tools for it. So that's a key thing that we do. We also regulate and supervise the banks, and it's important, and we look after financial stability. So all those are very important things, but they're not things that affect the longer run potential output of the United States. So honestly, though, so the question of what will be the equilibrium interest rate, the neutral interest rate going forward, doesn't really matter for policy today. We're really asking about once the pandemic is well and truly behind us and we're well into the AI investment boom and the effects of AI, what will that look like? And it doesn't really matter that much for getting inflation down to 2% while keeping the economy growing and the labor market strong.
Can I shift tax and talk about some of the challenges of leading the Fed for the last 5 years? So, just in our discussion, and it's clear from looking at the world, you've had so many different shocks. Economies behaved in so much unusual ways over the last few years. You were appointed Fed chair in 2018. I remember pre-pandemic, the dominant concern of the Fed was low inflation, not high inflation. It was having inflation below target, below the 2% target. COVID happened. We've gone in a completely different direction. So can you just speak about the challenges of taking an organization that was focused on one thing to focusing on something completely different?
Yes, it's certainly been a turbulent time, I will say, to Dean Levin's points. It's been really a lot of things and things that weren't expected. For 20 plus years around the world, economies suffered from lower interest rates, lower inflation, slow growth, low productivity, bad demographics, and a lot of monetary economists were working on how do you make your tools work at a time when you're going to be bounded by zero, and you won't be able to cut and support the economy. So this was a big thing, and then the inflation that came, it really arrived in the first quarter of 2021 was a surprise to most people, and again the macroeconomists generally thought that it would go away over time. Not everyone. There were some concerns expressed, and ultimately it is coming down significantly. So that was we had to pivot on that, and we did. When it became clear, really in the fall of 2021, it became clear through the labor market data, the inflation data, the growth data, that the economy was not moving back toward price stability. And we pivoted, and when we pivoted, we really moved. So because that was the right thing to do. So the good news about monetary policy is it can move quickly. The emergency tools we have, as I mentioned, are agile compared to other government policies, and they have a significant effect on the economy. So I think we've gotten to what is, knock on wood, a pretty good place. We're using our tools now to try to bring inflation down the rest of the way to 2% while keeping the economy strong and the labor market strong as well.
I mean, the other side of this tumultuous period that we've been through is the external pressure from the Fed, from outside over where to set interest rates. And you have faced this pressure over the last 6 years, including from the former president. So how do you navigate the decision-making of the Fed in the larger scheme of pressures coming in from the outside?
So the thing is, internally we have peace of mind on this because everybody who works at the Fed knows that we're going to do what we're going to do, and we're going to do it for economic reasons, and that's it, as I mentioned in my remarks. And I mean, I think you can go back and anybody can read the verbatim transcripts of the things that we discuss during. It doesn't matter what the election calendar is saying. Whatever's happening in the economy, those are the decisions. We make decisions based on the analysis that I described in my remarks. So I think we know that. So it becomes, but it's a communication issue that people need to understand that that's what we do. It's always what we do. If you look at the modern historical record, you'll see that the Fed has been prepared to move or not move and do what it thinks is the right thing for the economy in the medium and longer term without regard to kind of outside considerations. And it's important to just have people know that, which is why I brought it up. I don't have concerns that it's going to be a problem for us because we're going to do what the right thing is for the economy over time, and my colleagues and I are tightly focused on that.
Maybe you can just say a little bit more about that. I mean, you're praised by many people in your ability to build consensus. You've served in different White House administrations with different political ideologies. How do you do that in practice? Do you have any advice for all of us? And
so it boils down to two things. One is, we have a specific mandate. Stick to that mandate. Focus on that mandate, and don't be dragged into partisan political fights around. I mean, when I testify, people are always trying to get me and my colleagues to support their perspective on, fiscal issues or immigration issues, and they think of an economic hook, and they try to. But we just don't do that. That's part of it. The other part of it just is. I spend a lot of time in our system of government, oversight comes through Congress. In a parliamentary system, it's through the elected government, but because that's the same people who are in the parliament. But for us, it's not the administration that has legal oversight responsibility. It's the Congress, the House and the Senate, and particularly the two oversight committees, one in the House, one in the Senate. And so my colleagues and I spend a lot of time, and we don't go up there to blast talking points at people. We want to hear what they're thinking, and we want to listen carefully and respectfully and tell them what we're thinking. And I think people appreciate that. That's the thing. Same thing internally. I think when you listen respectfully and understand what people are saying and try to think about how to incorporate that thinking into what you're doing, for most people, most of the time, that's going to be enough. And so they can go along with things that they don't 100% support, but they feel like they were heard, or they're not going to, maybe criticize quite as harshly as they would, because they realize that you're doing this in good faith, to the absolute best of your ability, and based on the actual facts and what we know about the ever-evolving economy.
And can I just ask about how your own background has helped in this process? So you are a person who has shifted between the public and the private sector over the course of your career. And you're a lawyer by training. You don't have an economics PhD. You're running an organization which is mostly a PhD, or many PhD economists. So can you just speak about how your background has helped you navigate this?
Sure. So when I graduated from college, I had no plan other than this idea that I liked what I saw of the careers of people like George Shultz or Cyrus Vance, for example. And the idea was these are people who had a mainly private sector career, but served in the government at intervals and were able to do public service. I grew up in Washington, D.C. My family was not involved in any of this, really. But this is what I observed, and I thought I would like to do that. And by some miracle, that's kind of what happened. It wasn't careful planning. So I always wanted to do public service, and I wound up doing that. I served as an aide on the Hill. I was at a law, all these different things that I've done. So that's how that happened.
And then I'll ask one last question for this. Do you have any advice for the students in this room whose interests are to move between public and private sector?
So I think that's a great plan for people. People have different tolerance levels for volatility. So, I quit the law and went into investment banking, quit investment banking and went into private equity, quit private equity and went into public service. So if you're willing to tolerate volatility and steep learning curves, then if you're that person, then that's a great way to go. The other thing I'll say, though, is I have really found that when I was a partner at a private equity firm, I asked the head of the investment area, what do you look for? It's all about picking good CEOs and good business models. What do you look for in a good CEO? And the answer was, there's no one model. And that's really important. I have seen very different people be successful in leadership roles. Very, very different people. And it's in, I don't know if it's in every person, but it's in a lot of people to find your own way to lead.
We're going to go through stocks in a moment.
You don't have
More
to
Panda,
be
we'll look at that. Congrats on your
one way
20% gain there,
I can think of one person
awesome.
At the Fed she had a way of being a very soft talker, and by the end of the meeting, everyone was leaving there thinking, how do I do what she said? It's like, I want to do that.
How do I do her?
It's in everybody, and you should have the self-confidence. What I experienced when I first had to lead things was complete lack of self-confidence. Oh my God, I'm not ready to do this. And I think that's very common for people. I think people get more coaching now, but I would just say, be confident in your own abilities to lead and take things on and take risk, because that will, that's, if I could say that to something to my younger self, I think that would be it.
Jay, we're running on time here, and there's lots more stuff we could talk about, but I'm mindful of time. So let me just first of all thank you on behalf of Stanford for being here,
there you go.
Engaging us in this conversation. It's been very stimulating. I know I learned a lot, and I hope we all learned a lot. And again, so
Remember, guys, we are running on time here. That's what that guy said. We are running on time here. Okay, so here's the thing. Going forward, what we need to look at here, someone mentioning also the point of the supply issue, an oversupply issue. We don't necessarily know if that's happening. That just happens in inflation a lot. Usually when you see a deflationary event, it's the companies who bought in early a ton of supply, and then they get oversupplied because they try to beat inflation, and then demand goes away, so then it sells off. So that's all I would point out there. That could be happening, and the main reason I say that is because I worked in the furniture business and stuff, and furniture companies right now, well, previously, actually over the past year or so, they were buying product like crazy. They were storing a bunch of product, and now a lot of them are getting absorbed. Your Ashley Furniture and stuff like that is absorbing a lot of companies' product. So that's something to pay attention to, because if that's related to housing. Furniture is the third most important, the third largest purchase for every single human being. It goes house, car, furniture. So that is something to pay attention to. That's all I would say about that. Oversupply is a reason in inflation. When you see the deflationary event, that's usually why you'll see companies go out of business in that environment. But obviously, you want to look deeper into it. I'm going to run through every stock that we cover on this channel, right? We were looking at a 15. Let's see if these 2 hours, we're able to see some green here. Now on that 15, you're starting to pull back a little bit. That's perfectly fine. We expect resistance in this area at some point. It would just be interesting to consolidate at this level, and then we see some kind of gap up tomorrow. Really on the SPY here, we're getting a reaction from that 20-day moving average, sitting right here, reacting from our weekly expected move. So if you want those weekly expected moves, go join the Patreon, guys. This is what we give out for free on YouTube, but we give you the actual individual stock tickers, their weekly expected moves on Patreon. But the Qs are going to look a little better, right? This looks like it really wants to curl up and go positive. So pay attention if that does happen. We could consolidate the rest of today, and then we just see some kind of big pop. But still taking our profit early, trading like water out there. This has not confirmed yet, but you notice if it curls up, positive territory, maybe we make another move higher, and then we see some kind of divergence come in. So as far as right now goes, you are at the top side of the daily expected move. You'd hope to consolidate here, not get excited and touch it, and then come back off. Now, if you do come up to this area, we talked about this actually on the SPY. Sorry, I'm kind of clicking back and forth. But if the SPY wanted to go to that area, or if it wants to go to this area tomorrow, right, we could pop up to here. Maybe we start to do this right before CPI, and then boom, we see that left head and a right shoulder. So that's what I would pay attention to on the SPY as of right now. And more Pando, thank you again for your donation, and congrats on the NVIDIA play, guys. Tell me about your good plays. More Pando's always sending me his good plays, always commenting on Patreon, and I really enjoy watching his progress. It's very, very cool. Apple, right, we got the crossing of the MACD. Yes, you're not seeing the most strength as of right now, but that could happen tomorrow. We could come up to this level here. I still think 173 is a very good level for Apple. If we're going to see that roll the other way, look at the 30-minute. This is just going to roll down in negative territory, but as of right now, you can see that looks pretty flaggy at this moment. Now, Tesla, this here, we could see this roll over, right? Negative territory building up towards the center line. See that roll over. Let's look at the 2 hour. If that's able to cross, we can see more positivity, right? We can see positivity as we go into positive territory. Maybe we get some kind of retest, and this is going to get some more liquidity in this before we actually head down. So I would pay attention to that. Amazon, one to be a little cautious of. You have divergences across here. If those start to confirm, they've been confirming a lot. Pretty much it's Amazon is getting a bunch of people up in this area. Trap. If we get a move upward, we could be seeing that crash back down. The daily MACD on Amazon rolling up, so you could see a couple days of positivity, but you're going to most likely create that divergence. NVIDIA, not able to curl up on the 2 hour just yet. Okay, so he's done talking. Let's see what happens the rest of the day. If we can remain at this level, it wouldn't be bad. Remember, we're just testing that 20 at this point. seeing that head up. So 20 on the daily getting tested. Now we can see another push higher if this crosses and goes positive. If it doesn't cross, well, we can reject. Look at that. We're in negative territory. So you're probably heading down towards 855 to 840. AMD, this one saw some good strength. You actually have maybe even a divergence at this level, right? So going into positive territory here would be a good thing. I think you're going to run into some problems around this gap, though. If we see that come pretty quick, watch out for this gap. That could be some kind of trap up there. Meta, just be a little bit cautious with this one. The reason is we gave you the upside range for Meta that we give out on Patreon, right? Meta's the new one. We're adding Google and Microsoft once we get a few more people. If this can consolidate up in this level, use it as support, now we can make that move higher. Be very cautious up here. You could create some kind of divergence that rolls over, and then next week we actually see some downward pressure. So I'd pay attention to that. Microsoft, this one looks like it really wants to curl up. It looks a lot like Nvidia, actually. I would say even the bars look very similar. So if this wants to curl up, look, we're already at positive territory. So all we need is some strength here. We can go up, but is that going to create some kind of divergence at this level? I think this will be a great setup to hedge. And we'll look at coin in a moment. Google, I would be looking for a 30-minute divergence. You have this 2-hour that's confirming, but it's not showing enough weakness. So this 30-minute can roll up. Look at that, about to cross positive territory. That could give you a small 30-minute divergence. Google is another one. Google and Microsoft look like some great ones to pay attention for any kind of trade setup. This looks like we get some kind of pop, but is that just going to drop by the end of the week, as this is the upper side of that weekly expected move? So be a little bit cautious with these type of things, right? Be a little bit cautious because you do have some that are reaching outside of that expected move. Now, we could just blow off to the upside. We could see one of those 32% times where we just keep going, right? But is that going to sustain for a long time? I think we'll have to pay attention to CPI next week. Coin here. Just wanted to pay attention, no real divergences or anything like that. A lot of the time you can use Bitcoin for your analysis here. So I would look at a 2-hour if I want to see some kind of sudden, good move soon. Not really seeing much, actually looking kind of flaggy at this point. So if I was wanting coin to go higher, I would look for a 30-minute divergence. I really, really would. Coin gave us some great divergences at this level to take a trade, right? So now it's kind of doing this. We're getting tight again, kind of flagging, just kind of for an extended period of time. If this does roll over one more time, look for a divergence around this area. But as we go positive, we could just see that positivity come in, hit 269, see that go like that, and then we have a left, a head, and a right shoulder. So there is a way up for coin, but you want to pay attention to what volatility is doing. So if we're going to see that positivity, then we most likely need to see some downward move in the volatility here. That means, well, the 2-hour is just about to cross for volatility. So we could be getting a big upside move, or at least some reason that this volatility would fall off. I think what could be happening here is we actually fall down to this level here, we base out, get a good divergence still in positive territory. Imagine if that happened. Imagine if you have a divergence that remains right by or in positive territory. That would be a very, very bad signal. That volatility is actually going to come back in the market. So volatility could come back in with that. Something to look at here, 2-hour on TLT. See if this actually is able to confirm. This is another trade that I'm looking at, right? I'm taking a little bite at. See if this is able to curl up positive territory. Little 15-minute divergences down here. So entried. Now we got to see if that positivity comes in. Tomorrow we don't necessarily get news, but on Friday we get unemployment. Is that correct? Am I right in saying that? Let me double check before we look at this here. Yeah, non-farm payrolls and unemployment on Friday. That's going to be the next big day to pay attention to. A bunch of Fed speakers tomorrow as well. So let's pay attention throughout there. Let's be trading like water. It's the best thing. What was the point of, once again, giving us the word salad? Well, he's just I think he's asked to talk at these events, and he's not going to change his points. He's just not going to change his points at this time. And that's just very prevalent. He hasn't changed his talking points in a while now. Since he did say that we're not going to be cutting. He stopped saying 3 times, but he just says some. So people are thinking that's going to be 1, 3, 4 times. Yeah, and I think that's a good point there. He is just here to overall make us be like, nothing bad's happening. But notice that he subtly brings up We react in crises. We react in this. This could happen. He's bringing up these points almost like nonchalantly, but you should pay attention when he says like, yeah, we react when a crisis happens. And reacting when a crisis happens probably shouldn't have been a reaction of let's just pump money into this for a full, one whole year. That was probably not the thing to do. But going forward, we just have to play with the price action, right? We trade with the price action. And that's all we can do. So if NVIDIA crosses up positive territory, most likely we're going to see a positive move. If it rolls down, well, we're in negative territory already, so we can go test something like 855 this week. Let's just pay attention to our weekly expected moves over on Patreon. Trade like water, and that's the best thing we can do in a market like this. More pandas out there. He's telling me he's taking profit early every time, and he's doing well. So if we can take anything from that, it would be, the course is a good thing to get now as we are most likely approaching the top here. Trade like water. You can learn a bear market strategy. You can learn a deeper understanding for these indicators down in the description. And then Patreon will help you out with those weekly ranges. So I just want to say, man, I really appreciate all you guys being here. Everyone out there just saying, even Mel Gibson out here flexing. A lot of people out here just saying, give a thumbs up to the video. You enjoy this content. It's helping you trade. That's the overall goal here. So I really appreciate you guys, and thank you so much to our new subscribers, Fab, Greg, Edwin, and a few more. Sorry if I missed your name at the end here, but we call it out every single sub because we're excited that you are here. So hopefully you enjoyed this video. Make sure to smash that like button if you're looking into learning about this stuff. Course is down below. If you want to get another tool to use and some trade setups from myself, you can join the Patreon down in the description. I appreciate you guys. I wish you guys all the luck in the world trading for the rest of the day. If you have NVIDIA calls, I am hoping it gets to 1,000 for you. If you have NVIDIA puts, I'm hoping it goes to 100 for you so you can get nice and rich before the weekend. Appreciate you guys. Make sure to like and subscribe, and make sure to trade like water out there. Some of the best advice I can give as it looks like we're approaching a top here in April. Let's just pay attention out there. I hope you guys have a great day.